All right, we are going. Today we have Kyle Fortcamp.
We are back, and I am excited to be on this podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, and you've been really wanting to get on it.
I've been adamant. I think I told you about every week. I was like, that 27th, man. I better be wrote in on the calendar. That
you were.
Kid's coming.
I saved the date on mine. I'm like, I'm gonna get Kyle Fortcamp on it, and you said 27th. I'm like, all right. And a couple Fridays ago, you were about to come on because we didn't have anyone, and I text Frank. I'm like, hey, we're gonna have Kyle Fortcamp on the 27th. He's just like, keep him on the 27th. We're gonna keep him on and we'll book him right there. So
hell yeah,
it's the 27th today,
and we got our stogies. We got our bird dog.
Got our stogies. Got our bird dog. Shout out to
Peach.
my wife for picking up bird dog Peach.
Yeah, bird dog Peach. Holy,
that came out of left field when she came home with that. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll give that a try.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good, very very good, especially with the brisk half and half. Man.
Yeah, brisk. That sounds like something it would be really good with.
Well, Jacob just told me you guys had, on the way here, you guys had Woodford Reserve here, and I remember getting, what was that? I think that was a wedding gift from Jack Henders. I got a little bottle of Woodford Reserve. Mm-hmm. That's still sitting out in my garage cabinet because it's like, man, you can't get a board put together right, or you're just getting pissed off at something. You're like, all right, well, I guess I'll chug a swig of that Woodford Reserve real quick.
So do you have like a workshop in your garage?
No, it's getting there. Working in construction, obviously, we get the benefit of if an owner wants to throw something out or get rid of like a wall cabinet, base cabinets. We just got some from the All Glaze Board of DD. I got a little setup with a countertop, and then another setup with 4-foot countertop. That's really most of my tools and a little toolbox. But like I just got that miter saw, and I don't know where I'm going to put that. Because like, you can't put it up against the wall, because then it's just going to be blowing everywhere. Yeah.
You could always hook it up to like a little dust collector or something like that.
Well, I was telling Beth, and you kind of have one when you were giving me the tour earlier, that tall stand, something to have up chest height.
Yeah, I built that just because I did not want to lean over constantly.
Yeah.
And plus, like, whenever I'm building something, I'm always walking around constantly. I'm like going to grab wood or something like that. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone they always have, like, they start out with the workbench, and then they just expand from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I told Beth, I was like, all of my brother-in-laws have a business, and they got a outbuilding or a barn or this or that where they have all their tool sheds. And I'm like, I'm secluded to a garage. I said, I want to get to the point in my life where I have, like, this back building for no reason other than just to have my shop.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, you want a shelf built? Absolutely. I'm gone for, 8 hours on a Saturday building you a shelf out in the barn.
And, dude, like I said earlier, it's like golfing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something about just doing something where you're not really thinking at all. Like, you're only thinking about the task on hand. It's like, oh, I need to cut this board to this length. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not critical thinking or something. It's just peace. It's like you can, it's weird to say you can relax doing that, but I feel that way. I feel like you get in a zone.
I feel like if you were an adamant child playing with Legos, woodworking is just like instilled in you.
Yep.
Because it's like that you need to put stuff together and how to do it. It's just you gotta unlock it. Just gotta find it. I love it.
And dude, I always come up with the best ideas whenever I'm doing shit like that, where it's just I have to build something, and then while I'm doing it, I'll think of an idea for work or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I said, like everyone has their own thing. Like people go and golf or something like that.
It makes you relax, which keeps your brain getting moving to. Yeah, that makes perfect sense there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're working construction still, right?
Yeah. So I worked obviously with Jacob's my coworker. I was out in the field for Armcorp when I first got hired, and then I've been in the office for I think a little over a year now as an estimator. And that's a whole different ball game. But still working at Armcorp. That's a great company to work for.
So what does being an estimator entail?
Well, a lot of different things really. We basically get Jacob finds these jobs for us at different VAs that we work at. and there's a budget and scope of work, and we reach out to subs and get numbers for those scopes of work, and we put it in a bid, and there's some self-perform work if we can do it at that time, and general conditions, as far as housing, travel, stuff like that. It's a brain game for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you have to organize a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and like the one thing I love the most about it, but also hate the most about it, is you have to find that happy medium of, man, I could go in at 10%, okay, but then you're going to lose the job because you didn't go after it hard enough, to some other guy who went in at 9%. So it's like you have to find that happy medium. A lot of times the government, they have money to spend, obviously, but they want to get the cheapest price. Sometimes our reputation stands true to that. So it's a fun game. It's definitely a different level of exhaustion than working out in the field. 40 hours a week.
There's a couple times where I'm in there for a bid day, and I mean it gets intense. Like it's like competitive. Like people get intense. It's like you're feeling it. Your blood's rushing. You're like, all right, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
And you get real excited when you get a number and it's real good. It's awesome. I did not expect that at all.
It's definitely nice too that we got not only Jacob and me in an office, but we got Cody Wagner, he's melancholy. He's a very detail-oriented guy, but he gets fired up when he gets a good number.
Yeah.
That guy,
funny.
That guy's
he's scheduled someday.
Yeah,
for this,
awesome.
So.
And then Corey Rolfus, who's our boss of bosses, really. He is 100% a man. Like he gets fired up. Yeah. He'll grab you and shake you around and slap you around when you get a good number. So it's definitely I think the culture
those are
is
the best bosses too.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very competitive place to work. Like everyone there is competitive and they just want to beat each other, but work at the same time.
That's the most fun. That's the most fun though. Time flies when you do that shit.
And we give people shit all the time, and it's dished out all the time. It's awesome.
We have a little basketball hoop set up in the war area. We call it our war room. We have this little Nerf basketball hoop set up, and dude, the amount of competition that comes out of that little basketball hoop, and lo and behold, I was the first person to put a hole in that wall. Game
it was bound to happen.
Oh, it was bound to happen.
Knockout.
The amount of times that someone would hit the wall, and you just like turn around and be like, "That's it." Like that was definitely the one that went through the wall, and nope, not even a mark. But yeah, I put a shoulder through the wall. I think it was right before Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was right before Thanksgiving. He actually had to come in and Thanksgiving and fix the wall.
Our owner was he was on vacation still, so we wanted to fix it before he got back. Which I ended up coming into work Monday and telling him first thing just to kind of make sure I'm like hiding something and stuff like that. So.
And that's honesty is always the best policy.
Man, that's a hard thing.
And if it comes from you, it's so much better. Like the person you did it, you gotta tell it straight from the person. And, yeah,
dude, and that's I feel like that should be taught the most. And it's almost I don't know necessarily.
That's just accountability for your actions, and people do not have that accountability of their actions. Just like own up to it. It's better to get in trouble by telling them than getting in trouble and then get fired because you didn't say it. So
it always gets worse if you just because that lie will turn into a bigger lie.
The level of lies has to stop somewhere because you can't just keep covering up. One lie turns into 17, and then 17 that 18th one you're like, oh well, fuck. Just turn myself in,
Yeah.
And at that point you already dug a deep enough hole you can't even get out of it. You're just like it's end game. And I feel like most people learn that at an early age just because every kid's like that. Everyone as a kid is lies.
And tries to get away with it, and the parents just like, oh yeah, we know exactly what you did. We're just going to let you see what happens.
I had a different ball game because my parents being divorced, I was, I'd lie at both houses, but then I'd have like a double pool of lies. So I'm like, dude, I don't know what's straight right now. Inevitably, it always caught up to me, and I always got busted. So I think that made me who I am. But
it's all about you have to go through that to actually learn. And that's like everything in life.
Oh yeah,
you have to kind of fail somewhat. And dude, that's the backwards thing about today where it's like everyone's the best and everyone can do it, and it's like no.
Dude, it's cuz social media is giving people instant gratification, and it's just so bad cuz it's like no, like You have to fail.
Yeah, and the worst part about social media is it gives everyone a false reality of what.
Oh, 100%.
Because you're only seeing the best times that someone's. You're not. Maybe they're $30,000 in debt and the house is about to foreclose.
The thing that gets me, and that's because this is coming from my side standpoint, being 24, married with a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of kids my age do not have that.
Oh,
married
definitely.
with a kid at the house and everything.
They definitely don't.
So I get stuck in that realm where I'm comparing it to the kids that are my age out at concerts, or they're going skydiving or this or that. It's like, do I want to make time for that? Not really, because what I find enjoyment is a lot different than what you find enjoyment.
Exactly.
But I can see how people get that wormhole where it's like, I'm not doing what they're doing. I have to get this done. I have to do this. And I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Live your life.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. And that's what I always say, live and let live. It's like everyone has their own path they're going to walk. And everyone, like you said, everyone has their own enjoyment. And nobody really, everyone's individual. And that's
that like diversity, like that's why I think diversity is just everyone. Like nowadays, everyone thinks like diversity. Oh, the race, religion, and
yeah, dude, it's too much group thing.
I think diversity is literally everyone, because everyone's diverse from everyone. Everyone's different. Everyone has different stuff. So I hate when I take like these diversity classes and they're like, race and religion, and you got to be respectful to these people. Like, no, you got to be respectful to everybody. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck are we gonna have?
And like I grew up on a farm where it's like nature is a meritocracy, meaning that whoever's the best at it will do it,
Yes.
and it's like survival of the fittest. Where nowadays it's not going like it's like you're at an advantage if you're a minority or something like that. You have this, you can get in, you have extra step up in college or
That's
something.
what I was
like
gonna
that.
say.
And
I
it's
was
like. No.
Yeah.
Whoever's the best at something should be doing that thing.
Absolutely.
Like not everyone.
Participation trophies, man.
Dude, it's a problem. And that's the other thing. Like you were talking about competitiveness. Like that's part of being a man.
For
is
sure.
being competitive
yeah.
about it.
And a woman. I mean,
Yeah,
my wife
oh,
is
yeah.
super competitive when it comes to the stuff that people wouldn't be competitive about. So, man, it's just it's a whole different ballgame when you start. And being a parent and going back to the diversity thing and always respecting someone's religion or respecting someone's race or this or that, dude. The one thing that I would push on people becoming a parent is respect other people's parenting. Like
Definitely.
that-
I see you see that all the
That's a good
time where
point.
they're like,
Good
"Oh,
point.
why is he
I would
doing
never
that
do that to my kid."
And it's
Like-
like, okay. It's like you have that own style of parenting and
keep
they have
that
their
to
own.
yourself. I do not care. And
Good
I
point
may
there, Kyle.
have.
That's a good
I told my sister-in-law this. I'll never be the parent that just gives them a cell phone and just lets them sit there with a cell phone.
Yeah.
But in the same retrospect, look at the jobs that are coming from technological advances.
Oh, yeah.
And IT and this and that. So it's like I'm not saying giving a kid when he's 4 years old is going to make him a multimillionaire when
Yeah.
he's 20. But I'm saying,
You want to at least give them the
gotta be a
opportunity.
study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give them somewhat of an opportunity because, like you said, that's like the only reason I got into technology and stuff like that is because my dad let me do it. But that's the phone thing is weird to me, and I'm not a parent yet or whatever.
Well,
and so I don't really know how to think
yeah.
about it because I grew up with dial-up until I
Some
had
people are
my
using it
sophomore year.
as the parent.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I don't like.
And the parent, and they're letting them stay on it all day
Yeah.
long. Like, yes, you can give it to them, let them have fun on it, but take it away and be like, go outside
Yeah.
or go play with yourself.
Like when
That sounded wrong.
When I was a kid, my parents would turn off there wasn't cable. We couldn't get cable at our house. We could get satellite.
Yeah.
And my parents
Antenna.
would turn it off during the summer just so we would go outside. And I'm glad they did that. I look back on it, I'm like, I hated that. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
but that's one other thing that kids are not getting out enough.
No.
And that's why you have all these kids with ADHD and whatever. It's
And obesity.
yeah,
Oh,
dude,
obesity.
Sitting there.
obesity is an epidemic.
What I find really cool.
It's a national threat. Like,
What I find really cool, not to jump on the obesity train, but the obese kids that find sports.
Yeah.
Like sports are becoming a thing now where it's not. It's not a popularity thing. I guess when I was in high school, it was kind of like
It was definitely it was still a popularity thing.
Click
Even
thing,
when
like
we
clicky.
were like, I was even when I was in high school.
Yeah, so I'm like just my younger nephew. He's in wrestling in middle school. Like it's becoming a thing where it's just like you don't talk to that kid until wrestling season comes around, and then they're best friends. They're like inseparable,
Yeah.
and they just don't want to do anything but be around each other after wrestling and before wrestling. So it's cool that those kids are, and it kind of goes back to they've played Xbox for years.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they're friends and they play together. They text each other, hey, get on and we'll play together. But now that they're actually like, hey, man, can I come over and like, I don't know, wrestle or throw
whatever.
football or something like
Yeah.
that? Like that is just like bone chilling because it's like, shit, that's what all I did as a kid.
And that's I'm not for like, oh, I'm not going to give my kids video games or whatever. I'm for a limit
No,
on
I'm going
it.
to wax their
limit.
ass in some
Yeah.
video
Yeah,
games. I'm gonna be like,
exactly.
you think you're good at
yeah.
NCAA?
That's the thing
Play
I
me,
think
bro.
about when I become a parent, whatever. That's something I never played. My dad, he was 50 when
He's
I
a
was
little older,
kid.
yeah.
And he had never played any video games his entire life. He's the most stoic dude I know. And I think to myself, I'm like, boy, that's going to be weird playing my kid in a video game or something. I'll
Yeah.
beat his ass in a video game.
for
no
sure.
doubt. But
But who knows? By the time our kids are grown up and playing and stuff, there's probably gonna be some like look at this VR. He was just telling me about that.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee if I put on one of those, I'm gonna be one of those videos of that guy just face planting into a wall or something. Like that's just out of the world, bro.
I'm telling you,
crazy.
it's like natural. It's definitely natural. It's like you were playing. We were playing Beat Saber the last time.
Yeah, Beat Saber.
And it takes maybe a song or two, and you know it just because it's like you're doing it in
Yeah,
real life.
yeah.
I mean, you are doing it in real life.
yeah.
And I'll show you it after we
Yeah.
do the podcast.
I'd love to
definitely.
see it.
Dude,
Just to
it-
even
it's
put it
so
on.
much
yeah,
fun.
put it on. Just play it. It's sweet.
That's super
It
cool.
is super fun.
Yeah, man. So Hank, I've never met Hank
Mm-hmm.
or had a conversation with Hank Toby, and then Jacob told me on the way here that he wasn't gonna be here. I was a little upset. You can pass that on to him.
Well, he was his brother's basketball game was
Yeah, and
tonight.
then he told me that, and I was like, wow, I feel like
yeah.
an asshole.
No, but yeah, Hank's a great guy.
Yeah.
I wish he could get on more podcasts with us. Like he's only been on what, 2 of them?
Yeah, he's in Athens.
I know
that's the problem.
that's hard, and we want to keep doing this. And
Dude, and that's the that's the weird thing about college. What college is, because I feel like 50 years ago, not as maybe a quarter of the people that are going to college went to college,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and now it's like
Everyone.
so many of your friends are in college, and everyone's separated so much.
yeah, I meet new people. I this is way off topic, but when you popped that, I could hear it in the mic, hear it in the thing, and it sounded sweet.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, dang.
Dude, that bird dog is good. That's
Bird dog.
dangerous.
That's dangerous. Usually those flavored whiskeys are dangerous, man.
Oh yeah. It's like Crown Royal
Don't even start, man.
apple or something like that. Dude,
my
Crown Royal.
kryptonite is salted caramel crown.
Ooh.
My coworker got me started on
You-
that, and that is just unbelievable.
Well, during peach season, Crown Royal made a Crown Royal peach,
Yeah.
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 and I didn't get to try it.
I
was
didn't try it.
I was like, damn.
But then again, 6 months ago when I saw that, I was like, man, peach, I just don't know about that. I guess all it took was my wife to just show up with a bottle of peach, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm drinking that, you
Well,
know? And now look, I love it.
Let's be honest. Women know probably more than we do.
100%.
And they're like, yeah, you know what? Oh, look, Peach. I bet Fortcamp would like this. And
Yeah. So my
you're
wife
like,
doesn't call
oh,
me
this is
Fortcamp.
weird. I know. That was,
Yeah.
I use,
That'd be, no, she does sometimes.
but yeah, and sure enough, you like it. They know so much more than we do.
Where I would be without her is a scary thought, that's for sure.
Dude, and that's so cool. I feel like that happens. It happens a lot, but not as much today. Where you actually find someone that they're your friend too.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just a relationship. It's like you're friends.
For sure.
And I feel like it might be social media causing it. I feel like you don't see that. I think you see it more in small towns where it's like these lifelong friends you end up starting a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Well-
and I know like a couple, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know like a couple like Busher and Tyler and them like that went to going to Ball State and whatnot, going to, not like a big school, but also not a small school. They met some of their lifelong friends. They've met. They're living with them now and still continuing that friendship. So that's something that someone who didn't go to college or doesn't really.
But that's the cool
get.
thing is that you become friends with them too.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's the only way you ever be exposed to that is if you had your friends going to college or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's connecting everyone so much because, like I said, so many more people are going to college. And so many more people of different walks of life are all coming together.
All at those colleges.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what. Every time I go to OU, I obviously Hank and Mark, they all have their friends, and I've made friends with them, and it's awesome. But I go there, and everyone I meet, I make friends with real fast. Like, hey, hey man, how's it going? And then like you walk away, they're gone. And probably never in your life, but you hung out with them for a while, and then you meet the next person. You're friends with them.
But isn't it wild though? Because you go to a different house party, but like 6 months down the road, and you see what's his face, and you're like, hey man, how you been? I haven't seen you in forever, and you just pick up just like that. So I don't know. It's just
And dude, I feel like that is harder as you get older.
yeah.
That you kind of lose that.
You think so?
My dad.
I'm in the middle of it because I have like my neighbor's Bart, and he's like 40 something, and we got along great. Like he came over, and we were just hanging out, listening to rock music and shit. That we found something that we both enjoy. But who knows? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the older you get, the more you just talk, I guess.
Well, and don't get me wrong, the older you get, the more knowledgeable you get, so you see through people's bullshit.
oh
No,
yeah,
that's very true.
You don't have to go through that. You just like, nope. You shake his hand and you go on with your day because you're like, that guy's just going to turn around and say some.
yeah. Oh, he's gonna say, oh, this dude over here. He's I don't know, man.
I live my life by a very key advice from my grandpa, and my dad actually told me this advice not too long after my grandpa did. But he goes, "You're talking to some guy. It's always a man. It's never a woman in this conversation because women gossip. That's everyone
Oh yeah,
knows
that's
that.
their
Jesus.
nature.
That's their nature. They just. I told Cody this or Corey Rolfes this the other day. I said, yeah, we were at my in-laws' house and the hens were inside and they were clucking. I didn't mean it like rude at all, but like that's just like a saying around my in-laws. Like they're just in there clucking.
Yeah.
But no, my grandpa told me that if you're ever talking to a man, one, if the man shakes your hand, trust him. Two, if the man talks shit about another man, don't trust him. Mm-hmm. As simple as that. So you live your life. If someone walks up to you and be like, man, did you hear what so-and-so did? It's like, all right, well, because as soon as you shake that guy's hand, he's going to trust you. What's he going to do to the next guy he's talking to? Mm-hmm. He's going to talk shit about you. He's going to throw you right under the bus. So it's like,
And I feel like
keep your cards close, as Jacob Stolly likes to say.
I feel like
I never said that. You got that?
I guess this is your personality. Your personality is like.
I feel like most people learn that in like because I feel like most people are like they have that experience in high school or whatever, and if they don't grow out of it, because that's high school. I mean, everyone's been in the same building for the last 12 years. That's bound to happen. But like, because it's almost like everyone becomes siblings, especially in a small town. Like my roommate had like 800 people in his class. Like that's a little different. You don't even know half the people.
That's wild. I graduated with like, I think 180.
Yeah, he went to Mason near Cincinnati.
yeah,
I was
yeah. Big.
Cincinnati.
One of my random roommates in Cincinnati was from Mason.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's such a big school. He said like there's so many people in his own grade that he had no idea.
Isn't that wild? Because you probably sit through a yearbook, like our yearbook,
Yeah,
with all the
that's
names crossed out, and you could point out everybody.
Everyone.
Oh yeah. Dang. That.
I'm also
There's definitely like
It's
class
two-
with 1,000 kids. that
Dude, and there's
graduated.
two sides of that coin. It's nice because there's a lot of people you don't know, and you get to learn about a lot of people. But I feel like that's where you start running into people start really disagreeing with each other, and that's probably why you have more fights and whatever at bigger
Oh
schools.
yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. In high school, 4 years, okay, you want to take away 2 of those because you're just awkward and weird as shit. You know, you're not gonna go out and meet people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The third one, you're trying to establish who you are, and the fourth one, you're like, fuck, I'm out of here in a year. What am I gonna do for the next 4 years?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you graduate with 1,000, you graduate with 100, it's probably the same because you're probably just like, you know what? I'm awkward. I'm dorky. I don't know what I'm gonna do next year.
Yeah.
My parents are pushing me. So what the fuck am I gonna do?
Oh, yeah. Dude, and I feel like after high school, everyone is so much nicer to everyone.
Well, I feel like after you get out of high school, no one really cares like who you are. Like you can show up to college in pajamas and stuff, and in high school, if you show up to paint, I'm like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah,
guy
because
doing?
life
See that
is
dirt
not
ball in history?
life is not a popularity contest, but in high school it is.
It
'Cause
is,
that's the only life you've ever seen.
Yep.
Where once you get out in the real world, there are so many people that it's like Bill Gates. If you saw Bill Gates on the side of the road, well, if you couldn't recognize him or whatever, you would never expect this dude to be one of the richest men on earth.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I've really trying to start to just be as positive as I can to everyone I come in contact with, because I feel like once you kind of I had bouts of where I would feel like I was I felt like shit constantly. I was like, why isn't anything going right or whatever? And then you realize once you get in that pit and you climb out of it, is that, boy, there's probably a shit ton of other people that have gone through the exact same thing as me.
Oh, yeah.
And like right when I meet someone and they're like in a shitty mood, I don't even care. I'll try to brighten their day at least, just because there's no point anymore just to be negative.
Yeah, there's no point.
One of the things I pegged my dad's friends on, because I see them at Shell and I get coffee and stuff like that. You know, I'd be like, "Hey, how are you doing this morning? Or what do you got planned for today?" "Oh, same shit, different day." It's like, man, what a terrible lifestyle. You know, you get to wake up and go to work. I think that should be your first thing. Like, I get to wake up. One, you know, if you're married, I get to wake up and kiss my wife, go to work.
Yeah.
I love my job. I think if more people loved their jobs, it's the end game is unreal.
Yeah, and I feel like half the problem is that, like, video games and that other shit, people are spending too much time on that, and they don't really find what they enjoy, find what they have a passion for, just because they're spending so much time with this one thing that's made for you to spend time on. It's made to make you spend more and more time on. And so people kind of get in this weird, they become isolated or whatever. And that's big. That's a big problem nowadays with just dudes overall, just because the amount of dudes playing video games or whatever.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of play. I love video games though. So
Don't get me wrong, they're great. I think they're a
great way to spend time for sure.
And I've met some of my best friends literally playing on Xbox or something like that. Like the only reason I ever met Adam Green was because we were playing Xbox one day, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come over?" I'm like,
"Hell yeah, I do, Adam."
But we went over, and we were just like, "Oh, hell yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, I was just talking to my Nana at Christmas, and I don't know where I heard it from or where I read it from, but they said it's getting to the point now in our world where a DM is just as socially acceptable as a handshake.
Yeah, that's
DM.
That's
I've
weird to
honestly
think
never saw
about.
DM.
That's true.
Yeah, a direct message. I think the actual quote is direct message, but I just shortened it to DM because that's all you hear.
Yeah.
But it's like,
dude, I bet there's a lot of truth to that.
For sure.
Because it takes balls to even just start that, to send a DM or whatever, and that's the same concept. It takes balls just to go up and say, "Hey, I'm Frank Townsend. Who are you?" or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it takes more balls to go up and take the handshake than the.
The concept, I think, is what Frank.
I know
Oh, for sure. There was one thing my grandpa always pushed was look at a man in the eyes when you shake his hands. Dude, the scariest thing to do when you're leaving, even at your family Christmas, you're leaving your family Christmas as like an 8-year-old, and you're like, bye.
Oh yeah,
you're freaking out,
dude. And that's how I feel like you can learn so much about a person with just a handshake. Because you always Did
you guys have Kelly Black in high school? Did you guys get taught how to handshake?
I didn't.
Oh, I don't know. She might have.
She taught us, we had a full 3 days of class on how to handshake, and it was awesome.
Dude, my dad would always preach. Like, whenever, I remember from the youngest age, he would always shake. If I ever shook his hand, he would always grip. Yeah, he would grab it and shake my hand, and then I kind of learned from that.
Yeah.
And dude, you can, everyone's had that handshake where it's just like
limp.
Oh yeah,
to grab your fingers.
It's like, what am I gonna bow and kiss your wrist? Whatever.
It's cringeworthy sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You almost wanted to just be like, dude, can we try that again? Because that was pathetic.
And dude, everyone has those. It's like, especially nowadays, everyone has those awkward hand where no one knows what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
But dude, I feel like if that happens, and then you end up handshaking anyways, that's like right there is another sign. It's like, okay, this dude's good.
Yeah.
Like, he's a cool dude, whatever.
I don't know what happened to my dad, but just 4 or 5 years ago, literally my entire life has been revolved around a handshake with my dad. So it's always been, knucks,
Oh yeah.
fist bump, and then pointing at each other. For years.
That's badass.
Because dad he had 3 girls. So he didn't want to be as sentimental with me as the girls. So, instead of hugging and kissing me goodnight, he'd always give me a handshake. So we did that for years. And then I walk up and I'm getting ready to do the handshake, and he just walks up and gives me a bear hug. And I'm like, holy shit, what's wrong? I was like, what the hell?
I know exactly what you're talking about, because and it's not, I don't think it's not that your dad or my dad doesn't love you or anything. It's just that's the one thing that being a man is you have to almost do. It's like you're not gonna, but there's always those situations where it's acceptable.
Yeah.
And dude, I feel like
time to hug. Yeah.
it means more too.
Absolutely.
When it's not just every night you get a hug and a kiss.
Yeah.
One, it teaches you that it's to be a man or something like that, that you can't always be leaning on, like wanting this or being that nurturing. Like that's what I think at least is the role of a woman. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even growing up, you know, the dad was always the enforcer of rules. You know, wait till your dad gets home. Wait till your dad gets home. But there were those moments where it was like, dad got home and you're like, dude, I'm gonna get my ass beat, like for sure.
Yeah.
Like this is over the line. And he'd sit you down and be like, dude, men don't lie.
Yeah.
How can I trust a man if he's lying to me? So it's like, holy shit. All right. That was
Yeah.
worse. Can you
Yeah.
just take that back and spank me?
Spank
Because
me,
that
yeah.
was so much worse.
My dad had the like, I'm disappointed in you.
Oh,
the way I'm doing it.
those
And
are
I'm
the
just like,
worst.
oh my gosh, I'm not doing that again. I don't want to.
Dude, because everyone never
that
wants their
hurt.
dad to be
That
disappointed
hurt.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated that. That was the worst.
Dude, and that's the thing about, like, it was probably different for you because your parents were divorced, but like that was what my mom was for. Was just like, being after I got the stern talk or just spanked or something like that. Like I'd go to my mom and she would be nurturing. But you almost, that's one thing I feel is probably a lot to blame with all the suicide rates and whatever going up, is that it doesn't even have to be a whole household. Like you can be divorced or whatever, but just having those two people in your life.
Absolutely. Because the statistics of men, of boys without a father figure in their life, of poverty, jail time, domestic violence is through the roof. It's ridiculous. And it's gross. It's disgusting to even look at those statistics and think this is happening because a man is taking the route of not being a man. Like you are the father of this child. You be a man. That's it. You have no other job other than that. It's just wild to think that people don't get that concept.
Well, not only that, it's like if you were ever gonna put an answer to like what is the meaning of life, it's most likely to reproduce and to raise your kids and pass down your knowledge, and hopefully they make the world better for their kids.
Yeah.
And every generation you want it to be better and better and better.
And to be one badass grandpa.
Oh,
that
yeah.
none of the grandkids want to fuck with.
Oh yeah. That's what's one of my goals in life is to be able to sit down as an old man. All right, kids, gather around and tell them all bunch of crazy ass stories. Yeah.
Your hands are shaking, whiskey's going everywhere. Give me my stogie.
Get your pipe out.
Oh,
Dude.
man. What a time.
I feel like you just don't see that as much anymore. My neighbor, when I lived, because I was born in Nashville, and my neighbor, his name was Mr. Holt, and he was probably late 80s when I was a kid living there. And every day I would walk outside and he's just sitting on his porch in his rocker with the 22 in the middle. We're in the middle of Tennessee, and I'm like, I always would ask him, "What do you got the gun for?" And he's like, "Shoot these damn squirrels." And it's just like, that is the epitome of a grandpa. Like that is the old man that I want to be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Gran Torino.
Gran
comes
Torino's
out
a
with
great
a fucking M1 Grand, just points at
yeah.
get the fuck out.
Man.
Dude, I feel
awesome.
like they're just given a pass. Once you get to a certain age, that you're just kind of given a pass.
Yeah.
It's like,
All
you've
right.
lived this life your longest, and you haven't hit the bucket yet. So go for it. Whatever you want to do. And I don't know. I feel like it's probably just with age you kind of figure out you
see through people's bullshit. It's just
Yeah.
you're living your life.
Yeah.
So many people take 70 years to realize that.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think a lot. I think it's making a turn where our parents' age. Well, maybe not yours. You're a little older than my parents, but my parents are starting to realize they're not there to please everybody. They're there to live their life and be grandparents to their brand new grandbabies, or this and that. So I think it's and it trickles down for sure. Because now me seeing my dad act like that or my mom act like that, it's like, what am I doing wasting my time on that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna work for my family, spend time with my family,
And
be the best person for my family. That's all I got to worry about. What the hell am I worried about everyone else for?
And that's the one thing I'm like, I always think about it. It's like, well, there's two sides to it. It's like you can have kids young and you could be young and dumb or whatever, but I'm not saying
Young
you're
and
actually dumb.
No, we are dumb for sure.
Yeah. In reality, we haven't lived much of our lives.
No, we haven't done anything.
But like, there's something about like you can go out and run miles with your son or something like that, or your daughter or whatever. You go and play ball for hours and hours and hours. And don't get me wrong, I threw ball and whatever with my dad all the time as a kid. But you get what I'm saying, how as they're older, if you're an older parent, because my dad had me at like 40, and you're wiser, but it's a trade-off. Like now if I have grandkids, my dad's going to be he's going to be real old.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I never met my grandparents, and like I'm not saying I've never thought of that as a disadvantage or something like that.
Absolutely not. I thought of it as a loss. Like, oh man, I've never got to meet those people that were such a impact in my parents' life.
But that's the one thing I'm glad about, that because my dad my entire life has been like what you were saying. Once your parent, like how you're 24 right now and you see your dad that's like, oh, I'm living my own life now, whatever. And my entire life I've watched my dad do that his entire, just because he was older. I feel like that's the trade-off, is that you either are young and you can do all of this stuff and you're a lot more active, whatever. You want to go places and stuff. Like we never really took a lot of vacations just because my dad was on the road constantly as a kid, in middle age and whatever.
Yeah, when you guys were kids.
Yeah, and he was tired. He was tired, really. But like I said, it's a trade-off. I've always thought about that. Like I personally, like you said, and it's everyone to each their own. Like I'm probably gonna have kids later in life.
Yeah,
just because that's how I grew up.
That's how you grew up, for sure. Well, it's like when me and Beth were getting ready to name our son. We didn't know the sex of the baby the whole pregnancy.
That's the best.
Oh, dude,
I
it
love
was
that.
so. I wanted to call the doctor's office so bad and just be like, dude, just tell me. But anyway, so on the way to Lima that night, we picked our girl's name and we picked our boy's name. And it was a conversation me and Beth had in the past about Alvin, which is my middle name. And I don't know, we didn't really talk about it with people because we didn't want our name to get stolen. But just between me and her, we've talked about it. And I never met my great-grandpa Alvin Hartkey. So that was something that I was like, I want to carry on.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so cool because he was such a big impact in my dad's life.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to pass that on for sure. On the way to the hospital, my wife calls my mother-in-law. I don't think she called her. I think she just recalled that it was. But she says, my grandpa was Alvin. I'm like, we talked about this for like 8 months, and now you're telling me that your grandpa... Yeah, so that was like super eerie because it was like, oh, like this is destined to be. Like this is going to be Alvin for sure. And but it was, again, I don't think she met him. Maybe she did when she was real little.
And dude, I feel like that's almost better. I'm not saying it's better than meeting them or whatever, but it's just like you can't have it. You can't have that thought of who you actually thought they were ruined.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
It's like meeting your heroes.
Yeah, and then your heroes are drunks or whatever like that. Like
for sure. Yeah.
You meet Superman for the first time and he's a drunk or whatever, and it's like, oh, that kind of ruins my childhood or whatever.
Yeah. When it's like, when they're reaching the end of their life and they're passing.
No one.
I hate this. I hate talking about it, but I had my papaw. He was in hospice. It was a matter of time. He was going to be in a better place once he passed. All of us kids went in there. We said goodbyes, hugged him, talked to him a little bit. Completely out of it. Never in my life, if I knew he was going to be like that, would I have walked in there. Because I miss him playing guns with him at the old country house. I miss him mowing the lawn with him. I miss that guy. Not I don't know who that guy is laying down. So it's like I never, and then it got drawn out a week and 2 weeks, and so the girls kept wanting to come back, and I'm done. Like I don't want to see him. That's not how I remember him.
And that's one of the things I think is you get from having older parents, whatever. My dad, I understood death pretty early on, just because like a lot of his a few of his siblings passed away when I was a kid and whatever. And like, I'm glad at least, and probably partly growing up on a farm, but it's like death is a part of life. And it's like, for new life to grow, death has to happen. Like, and that's what I always think about, the immortality, whatever. Like, probably don't want to live forever. Yeah. Because that would suck. I don't want to see my kids suffer or whatever.
You see those videos of like Wolverine. The last Wolverine movie. Like, you honestly feel for him.
Yeah, that's a great
dude,
movie.
the amount of people he's seen just die.
Dude, and no one wants to... Imagine just watching your grandkids die or something like that. Like, that's what I mean.
I keep telling Beth, I said, if you're on your deathbed, I'm shooting myself, so I don't have to live my life.
My dad's talked to me about this, and I remember he tells me all the time, he's like, we'll see someone like... They're like being wheelchaired around and they're like just zombies or whatever. And he tells me, he's always like, if I'm like that, wait till it's cold and just put me outside. Because first of all, that's what the Eskimos do still. So
Yeah.
like if they can't,
Put
if
'em
they
out
don't have
there.
enough,
Really?
if they don't have enough food, I don't know if necessarily they do this still, but they used to do this. If they didn't have enough food to feed everyone, the eldest person would walk out into the cold, and they say hypothermia is the easiest way to go because you're cold for a little bit, then you get really warm and you get really happy, and then you just
Like
fall
a
asleep.
euphoria just takes
Yeah.
over your body and then
Really?
you're done.
Yep. And that's what the a lot of the Eskimos up there used to do. Which, I mean, that's the one thing I think about is I could not imagine having my kids having to like care for me. Something
No.
like that.
Yeah,
I would
I don't-
never want
yeah.
that upon them in my entire life.
Nope. Like the amount of complaining I do about wiping my son's ass all the time. No.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm out.
Yeah.
See you in a better life.
Dude, and that's the problem. People are they're holding on to the sentimentality of it and keeping their loved one alive or whatever, and most of the time they're not even there.
No.
Like
No, they're not there at all.
I had an uncle who had a stroke, and his children kept him alive the entire time. And I remember going to visit him, and it wasn't even him. Like I remember him before he had the stroke vaguely, and it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even the same person.
I think the
Where-
worst thing about my papaw was he started getting Parkinson's and started getting real bad. I think he escaped. I might be telling this story wrong. I hope my mom doesn't get mad at me. But he escaped the nursing home or the living he was in, and miles away, in his underwear, I think no socks and a white T-shirt, right to his house.
What?
Right to his house. He knocked on the front door, and my uncle Sean or my cousin Sean just opened up the door. There's Papaw just sitting there. So it's like that was really hard because it's like, oh, like he's gone. Like up here he's gone.
Yeah.
But then something like that happens, you're like, oh, and then you want to just like do everything in your power to be like get him back. But you know, it's just bits and pieces coming
Yeah,
back
dude,
to him.
I feel like it partly. I think it's maybe he just wanted it. That was where he wanted to rest at least,
Yeah.
or something like it. Because it could be anything, like you said. It's like by that time, it's almost bad for everybody, just because like what you said. It's all you think they're there again, and then it's just like you're just preparing for failure again.
Yeah.
And that's why I never want it. My dad has always preached that to me. It's just like if I start going, don't keep me like that because I don't. He's like I personally don't want that.
Yeah.
Which if he doesn't want that, then I will.
What's that called on the will?
I'm not sure.
Do not resuscitate.
No.
I know.
Like
I know.
the person who has the authority to put
Oh,
you down. Not
oh.
put you down. Jesus, that sounded.
I mean,
Like your parents or dog or something. No, but because my mom calls me and says, "Hey," because I had that same conversation with my grandparents. You know, it's like, you're just laying there. You're not doing anything. In my eyes, you're a waste of space. Burn me, put me in a pot. Don't care what you do with me.
That's exactly this. I get what you're saying. I would rather be
Executioner?
I would
How does
rather
this
be
sound?
returned to the ground to grow into new life, to
Yeah.
decompose and grow a flower or whatever.
I'm torn between either getting just cremated, or you see those be cremated, I think, and made into a tree.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Like
Dude, that'd be
that
pretty-
would
that'd
be
be-
super.
that would
Because
be
then I
fucking
could go
cool.
anywhere in the world. I
Yeah.
could, if I died before my wife, I could tell my wife, "Listen, I want to be made into a tree, and I want to be put out Europe and
Bumfuck
somewhere."
Egypt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somewhere I've never been and wanted to go.
my uncle. I don't know if I found it.
I know what it is.
It's not like the executioner, but it has a title to
That's
it.
pretty much
Execution.
like what it ends up being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom called me and she says, "Hey, I just did my living will, and you're the person, you're the man, whatever it is."
Yeah, there's a word for it. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
But no, because there's like I think there's
Who
there's
can pull the
multiple.
plug?
Yeah, there's pull the plug, and then there's like finances, and
Yeah.
there's like everything else that falls into place. And I'm obviously my mom's, I think everything, but she just wanted to call, and she goes, "Hey, I think you would do the right thing if I'm just sitting there as a vegetable. Just kill me." I'm like, "All right, 10-4.
Which it sucks. It sucks even talking about it. But it's like if you don't talk about it, it's gonna suck even worse.
Absolutely, because then you're not going to know what to do.
And it's like I've talked to my dad about like him having a will and whatever, which is it. I absolutely can't.
Gives you goosebumps,
Yeah, because
man.
it's just like I never want to imagine a day where my dad's not there still. but it's like you have to. Like that's a part of life. That's another part of life where almost to become, you cannot always follow in your own father's footsteps. And sometimes that's about when they leave life.
It's like leaving a door that's not closed all the way and opening a new one. It's like, but that door's not closed. Can I go open this? It's like, no. Close that door, get it done, go to the next one.
There's no point to dwell on the past like that. And that's one thing my dad's always preached to me is just like, there's no point of even regretting anything because you're never going to change anything about it. There's always going to be the same regret.
Yeah.
Might as well just move on.
There's moments that, I'll get deja vu. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but like, just to give a quick story on it. Me and Beth got family pictures done, and Clint put on this like beige button up, but he left it unbuttoned and just had like this thermal underneath. My pap used to wear that outfit all the freaking time. Dude, that was like his go-to outfit.
Synchronicity.
Working or relaxing. That was it.
That's the word you want, synchronicity.
So I'm sitting there and I'm watching Beth dress our son and he gets done and I'm holding him and I just like, I stop and I immediately go into like a prayer for like 5 minutes because I'm like, dude, I might be holding Papaw's spirit right here.
Dude, and that's what I almost think. I've always thought to myself, like, something in your subconscious is passed, like your subconscious is probably passed down every generation before you is in there. You are,
100%.
because you think you are made from them. Your parents were made from their parents, whatever. And it's like, I guarantee you that is not lost. Maybe it's the soul or whatever, but I think of it as the subconscious is that's your past. That's everyone before you.
Yeah.
That's why you're afraid of the dark. Maybe your past ancestors got killed by a wolf in the dark. And so
everyone just hates the dark.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
And I bet that's why, because that's weird. That's really weird.
It was like not a euphoria, but it was like it just like clicked, and I was like, oh no, like Papo used to wear that all the time. I even told Beth that, and she was just like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." Like I'm gonna have to find an old picture of this because like this was literally his outfit.
Dude, that's synchronicity. Carl Jung, he was a famous psychologist he was probably the best psychologist of the 20th century, and he was the one who really coined the term synchronicity. And his main story, which I read his book about it, and the one story that stuck out for me was what synchronicity was he had a student really liked him and whatever, and she gave him a golden scarab, which is a beetle, with a big beetle, and he put the golden scarab on his desk and whatever, and a few weeks later, or it might have been a few days, I don't remember right, but one flew in his window. And where he was at, I believe it was in Germany, they're never really found around there at all.
Yeah.
And it flew in his window, and he was like, that can't be a coincidence.
So is this the same guy that said something about like if you see you're going to see a red truck today, and then you see nothing but red trucks that day?
Yeah.
I think
yeah. And dude, I was reading this book about
So it happens all
for
the time.
sure.
I was reading a book about, it's called The Knack of Using Your Subconscious. And if you believe something, your subconscious is going to do that because we have no power over our subconscious. Our subconscious is all of our natural instincts that it's like, I always think back of when I played football, which I'm not that.
We didn't go to the NFL, so we're all right.
Yeah.
When I played football, I feel like I never really thought about going for the ball or whatever. It was all just instinct, I just did
Like
it.
you thought about the play before the ball was hiked, and then as soon as that, it was just like, oh no, I know what to do.
Yeah, it was just like you just weirdly went to it all.
Yeah, as a receiver, I used to, like, when the ball was up in the air and it was just floating there, and I looked up, I was looking at it, and like it seemed like everything else was blurred, and it was just the ball, but I didn't think of anything else. I was just like,
and that's what I
nothing,
think,
and I just saw the ball and just
that's your
came in my hands,
subconscious
just boom,
just
all right,
taking
cool.
over. Your subconscious taking over. It's like, I know what's going to happen. I do it. I'm the better, because your subconscious is working 24/7 while you sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of it's really interesting because we don't even know what consciousness is or whatever.
It's wild,
dude.
We have at Armcorp. Our owner Tim provides a life and leadership program. It's called Blue Vase Hunter, and we've talked about it jig up a little bit before. But what we're talking about right now is genuinely what we wrap up into like a, I don't know, 3-month course or something like that, 2 hours every week or something. But it's truly what you say and what you write down and what your goals are will become true.
Yes.
If you repeat it, if that's your life, if your life is being a ripped man or being the best dad you can be or being, get this promotion next year, it will happen. Just do the steps.
And it goes the opposite way, too. If you think like, oh, I'm not good at this and whatever, you're probably not going to be good at it because you don't even believe in your own self.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, it's if you tell yourself, I can do this, and like, I know I could do this. That's what I've always, I don't know, I probably mostly grown up on a farm, was that I never really.
No fear.
Yeah, exactly. I never really had a fear. And that was, I always thought to myself and just by what I could do in front of me, because the internet wasn't really giant yet, was that if I could do it in front of me, then I thought to myself, I could pretty much do whatever I can do anything I actually try.
Yeah.
Like,
and if I fail, maybe have to try it again to see if I can do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
and that's like, it's totally different from the whole participation trophy or whatever.
I think it was Mark Wahlberg or like
Participation.
some celebrity, some man of a celebrity, no liberal celebrity, but he said that he was at his kid's soccer game and they were handing out participation trophies, and they got back to the vehicle. He took that thing out of his son's hand, threw it out the window, and said, "We don't get participation trophies. You didn't win.
Good.
You don't get rewarded for not winning."
Yeah.
Like, if that's
I could
one thing.
not speak more truth on that.
That's one thing I always like. One of the other things growing up on a farm was like, if I failed, like, it probably was a big fuck up. Like, something actually might go wrong. Like, and so I always was. My dad drilled into me. He's like, he would get pissed if I fucked something up, and he's not a bad dad because of that.
No.
It taught me that
Don't fuck up.
The fact that you have to say he's not a bad dad is
Which is
showing the world we live in.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. You're
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
It's because like, well, everyone says like, oh, well, you can fail, just try again or whatever, and it's like, that's not most of the time an option.
No.
Like, if you
No,
fuck
yeah.
up and say it's like, oh, I fucked up and went and did heroin.
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
That's life, man.
That's life.
That can be life.
Like, you can't do it. You can't redo that.
I read a
Yeah.
book called Failing Forward, and there were some good points in that book, but there was a lot of it where it was just like, like there's steps you have to take as a man or as a woman, as anything, to not do the wrong thing. And we all have people in our lives that literally do wrong thing after wrong thing. It gets to a point where it's hysterical.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy's just going to make bad decision after bad. But then it gets to the point like, oh my God, dude, like, it's cringeworthy. Like, stop making bad decisions.
yeah.
Like, make a good decision once in your life. So like, Failing Forward has a good concept to it, because it's like, take your failures and move forward from them. But at the same time, like you just said, you fucked up and OD'd on something. Well, you
can't redo
get that back,
Yeah.
so you're done.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm glad I learned at a young age, was that some things you can't mess up. You got to do them right the first time. And if you don't, maybe like, and I had a few times where it was like, if I fucked up, then like my life's and then I die. Like, it's like, I learned that at a young age. Was like, I remember when my brother and I was probably like 6 or 7. We were walking our hay mound, which is probably 12, 14 feet up above the ground. And I stepped on a board that was not, I shouldn't have stepped on. And I went straight through. And my brother luckily caught me before I probably broke both my legs. But I thought to myself, I'm like, that's one of those things where it's like, you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can't do it. You got to make sure that you're right.
Something's got to click in your
Yes.
head to say, no, let's not do that.
Yeah,
Let's not do
exactly. And it's like, and everyone, that's the other thing, like, I knew my limits. It wasn't like I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go out and try to do a triple flip off a cliff or something, whatever.
Man.
I knew my limits.
Yeah.
that. Something our parents had in themselves to teach us all this. Not even to teach us all this, to
learn from just how they were, just by
I aspire to be half the dad my dad was.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
so true, dude.
Oh yeah. That's
I feel
100%
like
true.
every girl aspires to be as the half
of their mom, for sure.
And every guy aspires to be half their dad. And that's like back to the, if you don't have that father figure, how can you do that? How can you
Exactly.
do that?
Yeah.
Which is, dude, I don't.
Well, also a little back, because I wanted to say it when I said all those statistics. Another thing is going back to what we just talked about, that young man making the right decision. Now, granted, he needs role models, but also be a man, make the right decision. You know, when you're 14, 15, I can see how those decisions get frayed and
That's
hazed
when you
a little
learn.
bit. Yeah, that's when you learn. But at the same time, one bad decision as a 14-year-old could just lock you into a bad gang or a bad whatever at any time for the rest of your life, and you're done. That one decision, you're done.
And most of the time, if you don't have a father figure or whatever, there's no one there to tell you, like, hey, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
It's like I always think about you ever seen the show Everybody Hates Chris? Mm-hmm. I always think of that dad.
Terry Crews.
Yeah, like, oh, respects. Terry Crews is badass.
He
I
is.
always think of that where his dad was like, no, you're not doing this.
That almost has so many similarities to an old show. I can't remember what it was. But I just saw it on social media where a drug guy moves into this nice neighborhood and this dad just was not for this guy's bullshit. So he had like this party at his house to like get these guys evicted, get them arrested. They were selling drugs and everything. And this guy came over. Anyways, very long clip short. He ended up choking this drug guy out up against the door. It was some 50-year-old dad against a 25-year-old punk selling drugs. But he was like, I have nothing to lose. I am not scared of you. Just showing that initiative. It was just, I can't remember the show either, but
And dude, I feel like you probably get that. Once you become a father or something, it's like the only thing I have to lose is my family or whatever, and it's like you learn that I will do whatever it takes. That means like if I have to go and do something that's not legal or whatever, I'll do it just to protect someone, protect who I love. And I feel like you somewhat know that as you before you're a parent, and I'm not a parent, so I don't.
Yeah.
But like,
oh, absolutely.
You learn that once you bring life into the world, that's another thing. It's like you brought life into the world. That's crazy.
I brought life into the world, man. I'm
That's
the
like
only
a
one of
whole-
my friends that can has visual evidence of having sex once. Yeah, no, it's definitely a game changer, man. It's the biggest blessing.
Did you feel anything like your own personality change? Did you feel yourself change?
For sure. Like it wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about my wife anymore. Like it was 100% about Clint. Like, is the house too warm? Are the dishes being dirty, causing germs to be in the air to get him sick?
Yeah.
Or is his bathwater too cold? Like everything is about your child.
Dude, I feel like that has been bred into us because it was like if you weren't like that,
Yeah.
your kid's defenseless.
Yeah, for sure.
Where back
kid is defenseless.
20,000 years ago, if you didn't make sure that everything was good for your kid, then he might get he might be taken by a wolf or some shit.
Or a mammoth and a sloth.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
trekked all the way across the world and made it into a cartoon movie. No, but no, it's definitely a blessing. But there's times where you're just like, dude, like he's at the age now, and my wife, being an OB nurse, tells me that it's kind of a year milestone they start walking. Clint has, my son's name's Clint, by the way, if no one's listening, but he has no care in the world to walk. He knows how to crawl, knows how to stand up on his own, just has no care in the world to walk. So it's like, now I'm just like, dude, freaking walk, man. Like, just go. Just be independent. But at the same time, like when he was a baby, I'm talking like no head control, just like limp noodle. I hated that phase, bro. I am too big of a guy to be carrying this little infant
Dude, I always think
9-pound
my
baby.
dad said he could hold me in his palm when I was just born. He said I could hold you in my palm.
Beth wanted to get that picture when we came home, and I'm like, no, like I'm not. I was a lineman. I ain't carrying him with one hand. I'll go like this.
Yeah.
No, so just holding him with head control, I was always like, man, just like get head control, and then like you can sit up and like be more fun.
Yeah.
And then it was to the point where I was like, oh man, you got head control now. Like now crawl. Like I want to play with you on the floor. And now it's to the point where I want to walk, and it's like I started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I'm just wishing away these fundamental years for him.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to miss. One of my coworkers I said, Clint got his first tooth, man. Like I'm so excited he got his first tooth. It's just this dorky looking one tooth in the front. He goes, man, I miss Elliot's gummy smile.
And that probably hit you.
Oh man, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna miss his gummy. And now I do. When the pictures pop up on our TV or on our timeline, it's like, man,
Dude,
I
but
miss that little guy.
I feel like that's life.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, for
like
sure.
it's like you. It's great to think back on it, but it's like I imagine the next thing. Imagine when he starts walking. Imagine when he starts running.
It's gonna be wild, man. If he makes half
First-
the bad
first-
decisions I
his
did, I'm
first
gonna
high
be
school-
super nervous.
Yeah, just like first high school sport, you'd be up in the stands, being like, "Yeah, that's my son kicking that guy's ass." And fuck you.
Man, I remember being middle school basketball. I played maybe like a collective 4 minutes my entire 7th and 8th grade year put together. Like I was not that kid to play basketball, but
I was
tell you
literally
what,
on the same boat. I didn't. Play
what was
shit.
that class with Spriggs?
World? Was it world history?
No. It was in middle school, and you put the videos together, and you made like clip art and made
the
slideshows.
PowerPoints, whatever.
That show. But anyways, we had a couple one where the basketball games would be like over the TVs in the hallways and stuff like that. Dude, I tell you what, if it was like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you would hear my mom scream. Every time. It was guaranteed. If I was in the game, you'd hear my mom scream. I'm like, Mom, you are the most embarrassing person this face of the earth. But I told Beth, I was like, I'm going to be that person.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
100%. Like I want everything. I want what's best for him. So it's like, if I'm going to be that asshole, I'm going to be that asshole.
Yeah, and like I had like a totally different experience where my parents worked a lot of the night, like because they were entertainers mostly,
yeah.
and so like when my dad was just at a game, I didn't even have to be doing anything. Just having him at the game, I was just like, oh hell yeah! Like
Yeah.
I knew I was already gonna do better or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that's everyone's different experience, and it's cool like hearing how people are what drives them like that.
Oh yeah. And like to go back on like the family thing, like I obviously started dating Beth, my wife, in high school. Well, in middle school really, but we didn't hang out till high school. Just going over to their house, you know, seeing their parents live and how she grew up, it still blows my mind away.
Oh yeah.
Still, I mean, don't get me wrong. I lived an abstract childhood compared to most people being a kid of divorced parents. So I had two households to go to. But just outside of that, even if I didn't have divorced parents, just the sheer difference. You know,
They live right around the corner from
yeah,
me.
exactly, right down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
So they just the sheer difference in how they treat people, how they react to things, how they I don't know.
I know
it's just
exactly what
so
you're talking
different.
about because like that's one of the reasons why I don't get truly excited at a lot of shit just because like a lot of the stuff I've already seen a lot of stuff just growing up on it out in the country or whatever, and like my dad's the same way, and I probably learned a lot from.
I don't know if there's one conversation I've had with my father-in-law that didn't, 1, teach me something, or 2, blow me away, 3, made me laugh. Like he has this thing. I told Beth I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I'm gonna bring it up. So he has this thing where he's noticed it on these TV shows and these radio stations lately of people going yeah. Like agreeing with people. We've done it on this podcast 17 times already. But I told him, I was like, I listen to these podcasts and they say that. And that's all I can hear now is these, yeah. I go home and turn on the TV and they're saying, yeah. But it's just how he
just did it.
He drove semi for I don't even know how many years. So he was by himself. But now that he's back home and he's working at Mercer Landmark and he's with all the grandkids, you can tell that something clicked in his head too. And he's an older guy. Something clicked in his head. He's like, oh. Especially when me and Beth got married. Like, I took the baby from the family out of the house.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, he was.
That is right, because Andy and doesn't she have a sister? Does she have a sister?
She has 4 sisters.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, she has Kelly, Vicky, Mindy, Terry, and then she's got an older brother, Mark. I don't know what age the sister or what.
Oh, it's Mark. I thought it was
Yeah.
Andy. No,
Yeah,
I was
Mark.
saying remember it wrong.
Yeah, Mark is the closest in age, and I don't even know how old. I think he's like
'Cause
6
I remember
or 8 years older
Mark
than him.
Came to when my brother's birthday when he was a little kid. We had hay rides back to our pond. And they
Dude.
all came.
The amount of like old farm pictures around their house is just like you could just spend probably 8 hours, Jacob, just walking in there and just being like, wow.
Yep, that's exactly. I know
Like
exactly what you're
people
talking
literally, they probably paid $60 for some guy to fly up in a helicopter and take a picture of their farm ground. Just to have it. Just to put Guttermiller at the bottom or Fortcamp at the bottom. You know, just to do that. And but that's so cool because
that is super
back
cool.
then that's what they that was
That
their
was it.
pride
Yeah.
possession,
Yeah.
dude.
about. Oh yeah, that I know exactly what you're talking about.
One of the things I told Beth I wanted to do this when we first got married, but we never did. And we probably could take a break after this. But one of the things that she never did, or that we never did, but her parents did, was I think they bought land off of my father-in-law's dad when they got married. Like with the money they got from the wedding gifts, they bought land from my father-in-law's father over in Indiana. They still have that land today. They still rent that land out today. Oh my God, you guys, that cents on the dollar back then to pay for it.
Oh yeah.
And now just imagine it.
Well, that's like
I don't know why they work. Let's just put it that way. I don't know why they work. Those 2 rent checks they get a year, they'll be fine.
Oh, they have that much land.
Dang.
I can't. I just asked my father-in-law the other day how many acres he has, and I don't know if he answered it or was able to answer it.
And dude, that's why most farms are old families.
Absolutely.
It's because you can't. It's not like not many people can go out and start a farm.
Nope.
Because the only way you're making money off of farming now is if you got 3,000 acres or something like that.
Really?
And an acre of farmland here is probably 10 grand.
I help my brother-in-law who's a farmer down in St. Henry, and I tell him about every time I go and help him at the end of the shift after we're, 10, 12, 14 Budweisers deep. I'm like, I could never do your job. Don't want to.
Yeah.
Never do it. That's 7 days a week.
Oh yeah.
Your hours are infinite. I mean, it's.
I remember so
sunrise to
many of those
sundown.
days where it was even like. I remember a couple times we didn't even go to bed. It was just like we worked constantly because it was like if you don't get it done and it rains, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get it off and whatever.
Have you seen Life Below Zero?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, I
That's
love that show.
I
I love that Glenn Newville or something like that. He used to be on that show.
Yeah.
But I had my uncle and all of his family lived in Alaska. I have a couple cousins that still live up there.
Yeah.
And they tell me stories exactly the same as that show. And it's just like
It's like me and Beth watch it and like our jaws are open
Oh, yeah.
the entire time watching it. We're just like you want us at one point just be like, okay, they're talking shit, whatever. Next clip, a freaking bear just walks out of
yeah.
nowhere, and you're like, oh shit.
my
they were
uncle.
right. Like this is literally life or death. Whatever you do.
Yeah.
My cousin would always. My cousin. He told me a story of when they were living in Alaska. All of a sudden, they heard something at the front door. It was like 3 a.m. or something, and they heard something like hitting the front door, and they're like, "What the heck?" And my uncle got up and he went and opened the door, and there's 2 full-grown moose eating the pumpkins from Halloween on the right next to the front door. And he said,
Oh, shit.
he said he opened the door and he just closed it right away. It's just like, oh, that's what it was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you don't mess with those guys. Those guys
dude.
will fuck you
Dude,
up.
the bears up there. That's one thing I would. The bears get
Like
big.
you see these
Dude, they get real
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
Oh my god.
And just think like there's clips of a bear just killing a moose in one swipe.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they'll hit him one swipe.
Dude,
And
speaking
moose
of
are-
bears, have
moose
you
are
seen The
huge.
Revenant?
Oh, dude,
Great movie.
That is an amazing
Oh,
movie.
boy.
So good.
Leonardo
Oh, yeah.
DiCaprio made that
Can't
movie.
even I can't even put words together to
Great
say how
movie.
good that was.
I
Dude,
bought
they
that
did
movie.
That
Awesome.
that was pretty common. If you're out in the middle of if it's cold or whatever, you find a carcass and you climb in it.
Absolutely.
That's common.
Mm-hmm.
Just and what I told Beth when we were watching it the other night. It was probably months ago, but just the sheer shit he went through, like falling off a cliff on a horse, woke up from unconsciousness and was fine. Like the shit people go through now.
Dude, I remember.
Dude, if that happened, people would be
People
like,
fall down a hiking trail and
Yeah.
it's nationwide news story because she sprained an
Dude,
ankle.
I remember.
You
I
know?
remember when I was a kid, and for one Christmas I got a 3-wheeler, and I was out.
Dude, those are death traps.
those are death traps. Those
I love that.
fucking
I love
suck,
that
man.
thing, dude. I love
You're like,
that thing.
every time you turn, you're like, oh god.
Oh, I was so good at two wheelies.
Wow.
But I remember I was driving across our field, and our field probably 40 acres. I don't know. But I was driving across it and I was booking it. I was going as fast as possibly could. And I had totally forgotten about there was a spot where our tile broke and there was a little hole.
A little ditch.
And all of a sudden I'm driving. I'm probably going 30, 35. And all of a sudden my front wheel just drops. And my handlebars just complete. They're just
like
gone.
Pink Panther shit.
Yes,
or no,
yes.
Roadrunner shit.
Yes. I'm not lying. And I remember I literally just went, I was still going like I was on the 3-wheeler because the front tire dropped. And I remember I face planted, and then like right after I face planted, I remember boom, the 3-wheeler landed on top of me and flipped on top of me. And I remember I was just laying on the ground. I was just I couldn't breathe. They knocked all the air out of me, and then like I couldn't move for a little bit because the whole thing, like the handlebars, drilled me in the back.
Oh man!
And this was before school. I was out riding before school.
Oh my god!
Because I love that thing so much. And I remember I would lay on the ground for about an hour, and I still barely could breathe, and I was just. And I couldn't stand.
You were like,
for some
this is
reason.
it. Like, I'm done.
I
This
like
is
couldn't
it.
stand. I definitely had a cracked rib or something like that
Yeah.
because the whole 3-wheeler flipped on top of me and the handlebar drilled me in the
right
back.
on top. Yeah.
And it flipped and the whole 3-wheeler probably went 20 feet past me. And I remember I just started crawling back to the house. And like
What else you gonna do?
I made it about halfway through the field. I eventually got my strength back, and like I still couldn't breathe very well. I remember limping back, and like I got to the house, and I'm like, Dad, I wrecked the 3-wheeler.
I'm fucked up, Dad.
And he's like, all right. He's like, where's it at? He was totally nonchalant.
Yeah.
He's like, where's it at? And we went. He got it then after I left for school. But I remember that, and I think to myself like you said, somebody goes and sprains their ankle, and they're like, "Oh, hell breaks loose."
Yeah.
And like I never. That's
they're
probably-
wanting
you
to
guys are
sue
probably
the
first-
hiking
yeah,
trail
that
or
was
some
probably
shit
you
like
guys are
that.
probably the first people I've ever told that story to.
Yeah.
And that's what I had so many experiences
just
like
happens.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Shit happens all
you
the
got
time.
to keep moving. That's what I remember that vividly.
That's
that thing hurt
wild.
like a bitch.
I believe it.
But let's take a break for right now.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Amen to that. Oh, we're recording.
Yeah, we're back on now.
Yeah. I said, you know what really got me was I was upstairs putting Clint to sleep one night. Beth was working, and I know he didn't mean anything by it, but when I looked down at him, he was going like this.
Like you had a chaw.
Yeah, and for the
Ooh,
listeners,
man.
he was putting his tongue underneath his bottom lip and he was pushing it out like he had a chaw. And what I do, and I did it when Beth was at work and I was with Clint, like when he was awake. So I'd go outside, put a chew in, and call it good. But man, I watched him do that, and I was just like, "Oh fuck!" Like I gotta stop. Like this is not good. And it was literally that. And my wife, whether she got mad about it or not, because she asked me for quit for years. And I'm just like, I'm a man. I'm gonna do what I want. But it took this small little infant that literally has no say in the world at all to get me to quit. But yeah, what like Jacob said, I walked in one day and I said, I'm done. I said, I'm throwing. I
Dude,
think I dumped 2 cans out
dude,
that day.
He did good too. It's not. He wasn't like any. He was
cold
done.
turkey.
He was done.
Sometimes you need
He
a
hasn't
kick
done
in the
it.
ass, though. You need to realize, like, it's not just you need that something to tell you it's not just me anymore.
Yeah.
Like my dad quit smoking when I was really young, and I never saw my dad smoke ever, and he would never smoke in front of us. And then when he was probably about maybe my junior year of high school, I got him a vape because of that summer we were out trying to start my motorcycle, and we were push starting it, and we went about the length of my driveway, which is only probably about maybe 25 yards. Not
Out of breath.
And he was out of breath. And I was like, Dad, you need to at least do something about it. Like, you can't do this anymore. And he hasn't been smoking for 7 years straight. He's just been vaping. And holy cow.
The difference.
His quality of life, he can breathe and everything. He's out splitting wood every day, too.
Yeah.
He's out splitting wood, cutting wood.
Yeah.
Wow. My dad reached a moment of his life where he was just like, you know what? I'm fucking done hiding it. Now he keeps a fucking spitter and a can of chew right next to my stepmom, who I think still to this day hates it, but it's not worth the argument.
Yeah.
So he's just like, you know what? Like at Christmas, I watched him in his pajamas playing with the grandsons, just like take 5 minutes to get up because his knees hurt. And he reaches over, grabs a can of Grizzly Mint, puts a freaking heater in, gets back on the floor and starts playing with the kids again. It's like, you know what?
I feel like there's a difference, too.
Yeah,
like, it's seeing your... like I said, I've never met my grandparents, but I feel like there's a difference when you see your grandparents doing something like that.
Yeah.
Because like everyone, that's like the
just
every
have-
time you think of an old dude, you think
Yeah,
of him like,
they
oh,
can-
smoking a pipe or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, they can do whatever they want, and you have crazy respect for them. That like you're just like they can do it, go for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not.
Respect. That's a
Respect.
word that's not used often
No,
in
it's
this.
not.
This
Dude, I
lifetime.
feel like that's respect is starting to get lost too. It's sad. I mean,
Well, it goes back to the instant gratification.
yep.
On, I don't even know if that's the right word I'm using, but anyways.
No, that's the right
sounds
word.
it.
That's the
That
right
was
word.
Yeah, it's the instant likes. It's the instant
Reward.
comments.
It's just a reward.
Yeah, it's the not having to work the 9-to-5 job for 2 years to get noticed, and just kind of getting the respect that's earned, as well as giving respect. That's something that's lost.
Well, it's not even a
Giving
9 to
respect.
5. It's like just working something, doing something.
Yeah.
Like it's not obviously it's not easy or everyone would do it and like become whatever Instagram famous or whatever. But it's compared to most occupations, it's easier.
Yeah, it is.
When you have people out working in an oil field and shit like that,
yeah,
that is by far.
You seen Deepwater Horizon?
I have not.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
I
I know
would-
what movie it is.
I'd strongly advise watching that. It was one of those movies that literally about every 5 fucking minutes you'll get the goosebumps.
It was based on a true story.
Oh
Wasn't
yeah,
it?
100% true
Yeah.
story. The biggest
oil spill.
oil spill / lawsuit that BP's ever had in their entire life.
Yeah.
Like it's 100% a true story. And I love those movies that they do the whole movie. Whether it's true or not, I don't read up enough on that certain life story, but at the end of it, they show the characters and the families, and they give little tidbits about what they do. And
I
what they-
know. I love that.
Love that. That's literally like a kid at the candy store, and like you're looking all day, and then boom, finally you find it, and you're
Yep.
like, that's my candy. Like that, the whole movie, you're like,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
a great movie, and then boom, hits you out of left field, and they're like, oh yeah, he resides in Texas with his family,
Yeah.
never stepped foot
was
on
like,
an oil
that's
rig
like
again.
Lone
The Lone
Survivor.
Survivor.
Yeah, like at
Yeah.
the very end when they show like everyone who died, and then at the very end
Yeah.
it's like, and that part is my favorite part. 'Cause I
It's
sit
Mark
there,
Lee that survived, right?
Mark Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell.
Marcus Luttrell.
But yeah, like you're sitting there and you're watching them and like, man, these guys are badass motherfuckers, and they went through something crazy, and
Didn't you say that was
there they are. Those are the people who did this.
Yeah, you were saying Saving Private Ryan is the most
Oh yeah, the
realistic's the wrong word,
yeah,
but
yeah,
on
no,
point.
it is like the battle of not the battle
V-Day.
V-Day. D-Day, not V-Day.
D-Day. D-Day.
D-Day, the veterans say that is the closest replica of a movie, like of what actually happened. And they said it's still not. It was still worse.
My grandpa fired the first shots on D-Day.
No shit.
He was on the USS Fitch, and they shot the initial bombardment. So before they sent troops to the shore,
They bombed
they
the
just
shit out
started
of
bombing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad always asked me, like, "Did he ever tell you about that?" He's like, "Nope."
That was a time where people didn't talk about that
That
shit.
was
they didn't.
that's
They
why
didn't.
they're called
They-
the silent generation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
It's because most of the time they didn't want to because of the shit they saw.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't
Dude,
either.
there was
seeing someone
I-
or like tasting someone's like because that happened.
Oh, yeah.
where someone would get hit by a mortar or something like that,
Half
and you
their
would
jaw
taste
would be
their
ripped
you would
off.
taste their blood.
Yeah, there was I was watching a document of a gun that the Germans used, like a giant gun, and literally every single time they fired, there would be like a whole like row of people just disappear. Mm-hmm. There's nothing left.
Just obliterate them.
disappeared, gone.
I was reading this one. I forget where I read it actually, but spinal fluid tastes sweet.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, what? I read that. It was like the title or something. And he's like, yeah, I didn't know about it until I was in Iraq. I might have been Reddit or something like that. He was in Iraq and an Iraqi got just blown up. And he went everywhere and they caught in his mouth, his spinal fluid. And he went and asked the medic, and the medic's like, yep, that's spinal fluid tastes sweet.
Oh my God.
I thought about that. I was just like, dude,
That's
can't
something I
imagine
could have
that.
went home not knowing. It would have been completely fine. 'Cause I'm like, oh.
But I think to like World War II,
That's
that was
Oh
probably
my
a
gosh.
lot more prevalent.
No, dude, Civil War. Because they would have
yeah.
they would like be in lines coming up, and they would have shrapnel cannons and boom and
My great grandpa Moses Townsend, he served
Hell
in the
of a
Civil
name.
War. Yeah, it's like a name that's passed down too. My brother's name is John Moses,
Hell of a name.
and he served 3 years in the Union Army, and then he got shot at, I forget what battle it was. We got shot, and that was the end of it. But I like look at a picture of him. We have a picture of him still, and I don't think there's anyone that I could ever say like that's a man.
That's a
Dude,
man.
those guys were fucking men.
Dude, and I can't imagine that. Can you imagine just walking towards your death, like, and you know it too, but you're not afraid just because of that how you were raised.
You're afraid, but
I don't know, dude.
You're still
I don't think they were afraid.
I think they were afraid, but I think the level of what was set and what was destined upon them was just so much greater.
They were just so accepted that, like, all right, this is it. I'm gonna die with honor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a fucking man, and I'm gonna go up there and fucking.
The
take
eeriest
this fucking
statement from those movies or documentaries about the Civil War, or even I think in Killing Lincoln there was a couple, was fix bayonets.
Oh,
You know shit's about to go down
fuck, yeah.
within 5 feet of you, bro. That is some of the craziest stuff I can ever imagine.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine bayoneting
or just stabbing.
that's just
I've gutted squirrels
and stuff like
and coons and deers. I could not imagine stabbing a human being. I couldn't imagine shooting a human being. I can't, because it was never something that I put my thought into.
I had a buddy who served in Afghanistan, and he said it's a lot different shooting someone though, because he killed a few people. And
Yeah.
he's like, it's weird because you're looking down your scope and you shoot them, and then boom, their head's gone, and they're dropped. And he's like, I can't. He even said it's a lot different compared to like if you're hand to hand. It's hand to hand is most primitive. That's where I think is the
Absolutely.
most. That's probably the most traumatizing, maybe. Well, because you see their life leave their eyes.
You see the yep.
Where like a
the
gun
scene
is
in
just,
Saving Private Ryan where the guy's on top of him, and he just
very end
slowly
there.
puts the
Yeah.
knife in.
Ooh.
Yep.
His eyes you just see it. The life just leaves.
Yeah, and that's a thing.
Damn,
too.
what a good movie! I'm about to watch that tonight.
I know.
That's
I
a
was thinking
great
the same
movie,
exact
man.
thing.
Let me just cue 4 hours of my life away. Isn't that a 4-hour movie?
It's 3 hours.
3 hours.
You remember? Do you ever watch Band of Brothers?
No, I got HBO now, and I saw that was on there, and I want to try.
I've
that.
watched a few
good.
of it, but boy,
Isn't there a
that's another
book
good
on
one.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
There
was
is.
based off. Was it based off?
Man,
or
I'm
was
a-
it
It
opposite?
was based off a book.
Yeah.
I'm a
My brother
book guy.
also
yeah.
bought it. Yeah,
Chad
he's
did.
one. Yeah.
I'm a book guy, man. I want to read that book.
Dude, books are so much better than
Give me one
actually
sec. I'll be
watching
right back.
something.
I'll show you something really cool.
He's gonna go in there.
He's gonna grab a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna grab that Band of Brothers it was on Amazon.
How much was it?
It was like $16.99, but at the same time, like there's so many different Band of Brothers. I don't know enough about it. I had to research
Yeah.
kind of because there's different covers and different books. But they were all labeled Band of Brothers. It wasn't like Band of Brothers 1 and Band of Brothers 2 and Band of Brothers 3. It was just like
I don't.
Is there just one?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there'd be like multiple.
I thought there was multiple. I thought that was a series.
Yeah, just do your research. I guess that'll be the best
Yeah.
thing to do. But yeah,
No, but I got Beth to get that Unfuck Yourself workbook.
unfuck yourself, dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
I told her I was like, I don't want to read that book without the workbook.
Yeah,
I want to do the work.
yeah.
So yeah, I think she just ordered that as well as my 2020 calendar.
I want to read that unfuck yourself book. That seems like
Absolutely,
seems
man.
like a hell of a fucking book. After you're done, at least.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. I want to buy it. I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
See,
just
it's
like
a
you.
thing.
I want my books. I want a nice like when I go home, I go into a nice room with one chair, one light, with a bunch of books
Yeah.
everywhere around you.
I told Beth, I said, apart from the garage and the barn, I said, if I had something inside the house, I said I would want an office or a den or something. You can use too. I said, it's not just for me, but I said, I want something like that with built-in shelves, and I want nothing but my books.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
nothing with books that I want to read. I want nothing with books that I know I want Clint to read.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like
Yeah.
that.
I'll show you these after the podcast, though.
The fuck is he bringing out here?
So
Dude,
I have every letter my grandpa
What?
wrote my grandma during World War II. I have all
Bro.
the letters and everything.
dude, that is the coolest fucking thing.
I don't wanna touch
I
that.
don't want to touch it. I'm like scared to like touch
No,
it.
yeah, you can touch it.
Oh, I know, but
I have
like,
a whole
this is-
box of them. Every single letter he wrote, they all kept, and I read through them, and
John.
like just the patience
Bro,
it
let
took
me
just
see.
to write it.
I want to read like
Did I say
two
Dear Jesse
lines
of
out
mine?
of this.
What?
Dear Jesse of mine, is that what the
That's my grandma's name.
Jesse?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was actually a photographer on the USS Fitch too.
Okay.
And so I have all the pictures he took during World War II on the
Oh
Fitch.
my gosh, I definitely want to see those.
And
That is a fucking
he went
cool
all the
scene.
way. He went from, I believe it was the USS Fitch was it would go through minefields and make sure there's no mines for the rest of the people.
Yeah, there's minesweeping.
Yeah, so they were a
minesweeping
minesweeper.
things. Yeah.
And I think they were in Tokyo, and then they sailed all the way to D-Day, all the way from there.
Damn.
It's crazy, dude. I read through those all the time.
I gotta read this little tidbit I just read, just because my wife always asks for love letters.
Dude, that if you talk like that,
She just asked for a letter. Just
that's
explain
on another
yourself.
level.
Oh my
I
God.
read through them, and it's on another level.
First off, to answer the most important part, you can't. Wait, sorry. To answer the first,
It's hard to
answer
read.
the most important part. Dude, I haven't read cursive in so long. First off, to answer the most important part, you can tell, can't you, from my letters, that I'm just worrying about anything anymore. And I love you just as much as ever, darling. More every day, really, darling. As long as I know you really love me, nothing else could ever really worry me for very long or shake my love for you. Remember that always, will you please? Jesus Christ. My wife's going to listen to this podcast. She'd be like, why can't you do that? Why can't
And that was I'm showing him a picture of my grandpa, and that was him in his military uniform.
What
and
a stud.
that was some of his crew, and those are 18-year-old kids.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were,
See, he
those
was
were fresh out of
he
high
grew,
school, if
he
not.
grew. He joined the Navy when he was like, I believe it was like 25 or something like that.
I
So
tell
he
you
was
what.
older, and so he took all these pictures. That was him in old Pompeii, the one that got hit by the volcano.
Yeah, yeah,
No
yeah.
shit. That's what you guys
they
mean.
went.
That's badass.
No, he just when he was in during World War II, they went and had a check there,
That's sweet. I'd love to go visit
and
them.
like there's the eating food, and dude, just the looks on their faces it's crazy.
Oh, my God. I'm getting so many chills right now.
You still, those guys are
That was
men.
a submarine he was by.
Those guys are men. Like,
towing.
you could definitely tell those guys are like men.
And yeah, and they're 18-year-old guys.
Now you look at people and you're like, yeah, I don't know.
And that
No,
was
now you look at a person, you're like, is that a guy or a girl?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
See, they were rescuing a ship that got hit. I think there's a picture of it getting a mine. Yep, DM gets a mine off of Tokyo. The ship went down and they had to go rescue him.
Oh, my God. This isn't. I hope everyone that's listening to this sees these pictures one
Yeah,
day.
dude,
'Cause this
this
is insane.
awesome.
45 points to homeward bound. They're heading home a little bit. Chef's mess. And that was the ship that got hit by the mine.
I was sinking. Yeah.
And you were playing cards on the ship because they were out on sea for months.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's
grandpa-
that's the thing about World War I and World II. Like
USS Philadelphia.
there was no deployment. You were there, and you're going to stay there for as long as that war is. Like that's
So here's my thing with the older generation and the new generation. Again, I've never served a day in the military,
Mm-hmm.
nor do I want to. I'm very grateful that there's men and
This
women
is
out
D-Day.
there that do. Nevada.
that's fucking cool.
Nevada bombarded southern France.
That's fucking sweet.
Oh my God.
But continue,
Yeah,
Kyle. Whatever you're.
Nor have I ever served a day, and I thank those veterans and those men and women that
100%.
continually serve us to give us the freedoms we do. But the one thing that I would say that I see from an outsider standpoint is that these guys, and my grandpa and my uncle, fucking dealt with it.
Yeah.
Granted, there's some things that you shouldn't do to deal with it. Drinking,
Yeah.
smoking, this and that. You shouldn't do it. They dealt with it.
Yep.
Now, as soon as you get off the ship, off the tour, off the whatever, you're going to a VA, you're going to this, it's like you're destined to get 6 hours of therapy every day.
Yeah.
You don't
And
need to
those
fucking
guys-
talk about it to get over it.
Those guys they came home, they started their
They
normal
had to
life
get a damn
again.
job because
Yeah.
they had a wife and they had a
Yeah,
kid.
exactly.
Get over it. And like I said, I've never served a day in my life, so
Yeah.
I'm not one to say that, but that is my mere opinion. Get over it.
That was a USS Corey on D-Day. It
Fucking
sank,
sinking. Dang, dude.
and they went
That's a
rescue.
hell of a picture, dude.
And that was one of his buddies in New
Dear
York.
Mr. Townsend, it has been over a year since I received any word regards that
Photo
photo
set. So they see other people wanted photos that served with them.
of the days
Their
on that
families.
Fitch. How long will it be before I receive these photos? Sincerely, Paul. Long again?
I think so.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. And that's looking over the Tokyo Bay. I'm just showing them pictures, and like They're amazing pictures. I'll put them sometime. There was in Sicilians. I think it's in
I just
Italy.
was watching The Godfather before Jacob picked me up before I came here.
Mind Watch. So they just would
Big
go
old fucking
through
Tommy gun. That's fucking sweet.
and like I look back and this was my grandpa. And like
He looks like a dude you don't want to fuck with.
oh
he
dude,
just looks
his
like-
hands. My dad always tells me. My dad's got big hands. And then he tells me, he's like, your grandpa, he could almost wrap his hand around half a basketball. His hands were so big. And
Jeez.
they were working man hands where they were sausages, giant.
Just calluses for
Yeah.
days. You would hit it on a table and it sounded like a damn 2x4
He
hit a
said
table.
his hand was about twice as thick.
Oh,
Can
my
you imagine?
goodness.
Thick.
Oh my gosh.
I have a picture.
Frank, this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen in my
See,
life.
I went through and all of our old
The
photos
fact
we
that
had.
you guys have these.
I scanned every single photo. I just didn't want to, because they were getting old, and
You didn't wanna
especially
lose
those World
them.
War II
Yeah.
pictures. This was my great aunt kept the newspaper from World War I ending, and I got that hanging up in the. I'll show you it after the podcast.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty cool. But
Yeah,
that was the
that's
November
Arctic Journal.
11th?
At 5 o'clock.
Does it say November 11th?
I believe it does.
Yeah, November 11th.
Yep,
The
November
World War will
11th.
end this morning at 6 o'clock Washington
5 o'clock.
time. Oh, yeah, that's
o'clock Washington
right there. Yeah,
time.
5 o'clock Washington time.
Yeah, I got. Here's some more. I see. These are most of the letters that I scanned that you could actually somewhat read, and those were like. Those from my grandma to my grandpa, and like I just didn't want to lose them because they were
No, why
like you
would
said
you?
they were getting really old, and I just think they're really cool. I mean, it's
Dude, those
just
are fucking awesome.
yeah.
See,
I
now
could look-
this
I
is
could
the
look at those
shit.
for days.
This is the shit that I get talked to by my wife saying, "Hey, you probably should throw this away. You're a hoarder. Why are you keeping this random stuff from your parents or grandparents?" It's like,
No.
this is the
Yeah.
fucking reason.
There are things you should keep, but there's also stuff that fuck that. I'm just gonna throw
Yeah.
it away. There,
You know that chili cook-off we won
Yeah.
at work? Threw that metal away. I don't fucking need
what
this.
the fuck?
I got my glory. I'll
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, but I that's one thing I've been kind of getting into more and more is taking pictures more. Mm-hmm. Just
Dude,
because I
wait till you have a fucking kid. It is nothing but pictures.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Man.
Yeah.
But hell, my wife's starting up a photography business, so
good for her.
yeah, absolutely. She Beth Fortcamp Photography LLC
nice.
at your service.
Call her up.
Yeah, have a kid,
Get some.
have a family you want to take a picture of.
She'll do
Hire
it.
her.
Look
She,
at that free advertisement. There you go.
Hell yeah! I told her I was like, I'm your best advertiser.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna get you jobs left and right. I haven't got her a job once yet, but
Man. That's
it's wild.
yeah, good for her, man. That's awesome.
She said she wants to do photography instead of nursing. So it was just a matter of time before we built up enough money and start something up. And like I was telling Jacob on the way here, she wanted a new camera this year for Christmas. It was a little pricey, not to share numbers on it, but it was a little pricey, a little more than what we wanted to spend it for Christmas. But the way she compared it to was, she goes, I got a tool shop or a Performax, which is Menard's
Marnard's shitty ass
tool brand.
Yeah.
And she
yeah.
goes, this camera in the picture she sent me, she goes, is like a Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
oh, fuck. Now she just threw my tools in the thing because I'm a Milwaukee guy. So I was like,
that's
now
the
I got to
perfect
get
argument
it for
for
her.
it. That's
Yeah.
exactly the perfect argument for it.
Yeah, so she got, and I don't know.
But that's the other thing, though. I have all the cameras my grandpa used still, and I could just show you.
He's gonna go around and get them.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
they're just right over there.
I'm looking up what the camera is so I can tell Frank because he's going to know. It's a Canon EOS 6D Mark
those are
II.
nice cameras. Those are nice cameras.
Yeah, so I
So it-
triple upped her.
When my grandpa took pictures, your camera couldn't determine how much light it's supposed to let in or whatever. So you actually had to carry around light sensors and measure how much light is where you're shooting at. And there's like a few other tools. You got to have there's an exposure sensor.
So did that light sensor tell you like if you could or could not take a picture?
Well, no, it tells you what shutter speed. So your shutter is how fast the lens closes. And so it would tell you what your shutter speed needs to be, because if you open your shutter longer, it lets in more light, and if it's a shorter shutter speed, then
Cuts it off.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about it is like longer shutter speed, the steadier you got to be. And so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like photography too. I mean, it's
She so she works at Coldwater Hospital, and they got the nurses used to take pictures of the babies. And so their higher ups, or however it happened, basically said, "Hey, we're done doing that to you guys." I think they incorporated something else where they were getting more patients per nurse, or per baby mama and nurse type setup. So they said, "Hey, we're done taking pictures of the babies. We're going to contract it out." Well, Beth was like, "Well, shit,
I'll do it.
I want to do it."
Yeah.
So they gave her kind of the criteria of what it will take to be that person. And she had to be a business. She had to have, I'm not going to go into detail, but they basically gave her a list of things she needed to have. She brought that home. I tell you what, that was the biggest spark in her eye I've ever seen. Because she was like,
Purpose.
I have a purpose. I have a list of things I need to accomplish to do this. But before then, it was just kind of like,
I'm drifting.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like,
I'm not
I'm taking so and so's pictures, who's my sister's cousin's aunt or some shit like that. So it was like, now it was like, oh shit, like this could actually be a thing. The fire in her ass, it was just like, boom. She started up this Beth Fortcamp Photography LLC. She tells me I don't have to say the LLC, but I love saying the LLC.
Yeah.
So she started up Beth Fortcamp Photography LLC, and she posted it on Facebook, made a page and everything. I think she booked like eight or 9 sessions within a month.
Good for her.
Fuck yeah, dude.
right.
Like I'm telling her, I'm like, listen, like this is something that you find exciting, find fun. And I'm not saying she doesn't find nursing exciting and fun. It's just a whole different level.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, those are just completely different, polar opposites.
Well, it got to the
Not
point.
polar opposites, which is very vastly different.
Yeah. Well, it got to the point where I was like, and I love my wife to death, and I love that. Well, one, she makes more money on the hour being a nurse, rightfully so. But there was times where I didn't want to come home being so excited about my job because she was so bummed about hers.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, like this sucks, dude. Like I'm so excited to be in the office and doing this and being with the guys that I really want to build relationships with. And then coming home and she'd be, oh, I got to fucking work tonight. And it's like,
And dude, some people.
Well, there goes my pudding, you know?
Like that's why everyone's got their own deal. That they have that something that lights a fire under their ass.
yeah.
And like some people, they'll try to do the same thing, and it just won't. It's like
Or try to do the
being a
same thing
cop.
but a different
It's
way.
like when you were being a cop. It's just like you knew it after doing it a little bit, and that's the biggest thing. Just trying it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people just don't even try it.
Right.
They need to just try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
happen.
I am a big advocate. So I've talked to Fowkes, Tyler Fowkes.
Yeah,
Obviously, Coach Fowkes is why we know him. But I've talked to him and he's a big advocate and always was. He dropped like a subtle comment when I was in high school still about going to a trade school. And you can't tell a 17 and 18-year-old kid what you think they should do. Not even you can't be that parent that says you're going to do this. They're not going to listen. You can't be that weird uncle that says, "Hey man, I think you should like go into HVAC." They're not going to listen. And neither would have I. I would not.
Because every kid's rebellious.
I would have told them to go take one and shove it. So
Don't tell me what to do.
he said something about getting back into trades, and I was like, no, I think I'm going to go to school. Well, shit, we all know how that fucking worked out for me. I went a year, and I said, well, yep, I'm done.
I think
I'm good with
I
that.
think school is being over prescribed anyways.
It is.
It's just not. It's so oversaid, and I hate saying it because it makes me feel like I'm falling into a trap. But it's just not for everybody.
No, yeah.
It's not.
And that's what the thing is. It's like there's a stigma now. It's like, oh, you didn't go to college, whatever. And it's like, dude, you don't have to go to college and you can make 6 digits being electricians.
Fuck yeah, dude. Those guys make a lot of damn money.
That's what I'm saying.
As
It's
an
like,
estimator, I deal with prevailing wage rates.
people
Holy
don't realize
shit.
it. It's
Dang.
like there are all of these blue collar jobs are not being filled anymore, and you have to have those people.
I had a oh man, I was gonna say. Go on with what you guys were talking about.
No, but like electricians and plumbers and whatever, like
and
those,
just car mechanics. Like there's less more car mechanics now.
And
like,
it's this stigma that it's like, oh, you didn't go to college or whatever. And like I dropped out of college too because I was like,
I'm not getting anywhere from this.
I'm not really learning anything.
If you get a degree in something and not like it, well, you just wasted that much money, and now you're not even doing it, and well, what are you gonna do now? You basically got something worthless. I mean,
Yeah.
we got experience in life, but like,
Well, to me, I've always been a hands-on, like, I like to do. And that's how I learn the best is doing.
I'm only going to learn if I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
it.
That's how I am. And it's like, that's not college. College is, here's the theory behind it, but
And here's the person 79 years ago that taught us how to do it this way.
exactly. And it's like,
this
this
only way
is
to
the
do
only
it.
way to do it either.
Yeah.
I remember
So I had two distinct moments. I had one, go back to high school, the stigma. I went to a TriStar construction.
such a good
thing.
TriStar is such
Yeah.
a good program.
I went
Sweet
to the
program.
lecture hall, went to the meeting, got back to the lockers. I think I was a junior, and I love my friends to death. But every single one of my friends said, "Where were you at, Fortcamp? Like we didn't, you know, where were you at?" And I said, "Oh, I went to that TriStar construction thing." Every single one of them, and I don't judge them for this. It was the era we grew up in.
yeah.
Roasted me alive.
Oh,
Said I'm
yeah.
gonna be that dirt bag that goes to TriStar and this and that. When
Dude,
we were in school, TriStar was the
that's-
dirty kids.
yeah,
it was
that-
the kids who didn't have
yeah.
their shit together. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I guarantee you,
Those kids had more shit together than you ever, like,
absolutely,
Oh,
if
yeah,
I would have
yeah.
walked up to some random guy in high school that was in TriStar now, I guarantee that I would sit down and have a cup of coffee with that guy for 2 hours longer than I would one of my best friends because of the shit he has together.
yeah.
So I didn't go TriStar because of that significant moment right there. It was my friends made fun of me, and I said, "What? I'm going to fit into this shell. I'm not going to do it."
Yeah,
So I didn't do it.
yep. That's the reason why I didn't do it. I'm like, man, I wonder how all my friends
Well,
will think of me. Like, I won't come to school. I won't be able to see my
Biggest regret from
friends.
high
Like,
school.
yeah,
Dude, and the
yeah, I
other
should
problem is
definitely
it wasn't
try
just your peers, it was also like your teachers and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember the guidance counselors would, oh, well, where are you gonna go to college? Like, and then you have other your parents' friends or whatever, like, oh, you're gonna go to college or whatever. And that's on everyone's mind is going
yeah.
to college.
Yep.
When it shouldn't be that.
No.
It should
Yeah.
be school should be a way to nurture.
School should be an option.
Yeah, school should be a way. Or no, I'm saying high school and all the school before that should be a way to nurture something that actually you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And like that's why I loved middle school because I've always been really into audio and video and stuff like that. And like in middle school, I got to run the whole audio video crap. And I love that. And then in high school, it kind of was just like,
Drifted
oh,
away.
you got to do this and this. You got to take this class. You got to take
Yeah.
this, what electives or whatever
Yeah.
they are. And it drifted, like you said, it drifts away.
Well,
but
I
I
had
still
a-
stuck with. I still love to do it, and I always do it as a hobby.
Yeah. Well, I had architectural drafting was the class in college at Cincinnati. I don't know the professor's name, but the professor, very first day of class. I mean, it was my first semester. I think it was like my sixth class. So it was like on a Thursday. I started on that Monday. So I'm like already in over my head, freaking out. Don't know what the hell I'm going to do. As if everybody who went to college for the first year, we sit down and he's like, hey, everyone raise their hand for who's architectural degrees or architect degrees. So, 20% raise their hand. And he goes, all right, now everyone else raise their hand everyone raise their hand who's a construction management degree. So, they're 60% raise their hand. And then he's like, everyone raise their hand for undecided. So another 20%. So the whole class ended up raising their hand. And he goes, every single one of you, no matter what the degree is, will end up graduating 4, 5, 6, 7 years. No judgment. Don't give a shit. I'm getting paid either way. You will graduate and you will get hired in at the bottom of a totem pole job and you will work your way up to get what your degree is worth. I remember calling my dad at the end of that class and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck
yeah.
am I doing?
Yeah.
And
So then I dropped out and I got a laborer position. And
Yeah.
I'm not
You're
saying
doing the
here's the proof
exact
in the
same
pudding,
thing.
but I'm fucking working
Work
my
your
way
way
up.
Yeah.
And like I always, the reason why I know for a fact college didn't work for me because I always am against the grain. I've
Yeah.
realized that. It's like I've always wanted to do my own thing and start my own business or start a business with other people.
Start
and
a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I've always wanted to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like college is not suited for any of that. I thought they
It's a
might
cookie
have,
cutter, man.
Yeah, they might have entrepreneur class, whatever. But you're not going to be an entrepreneur going to school like in tech. I know tech, and it's like you're not learning you are not learning anything you really actually need to know for tech.
And I think you said it in one of the most recent podcasts was saying like you were sitting there in class and you were just like, oh, like I already know this stuff. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell am I learning? I'm not learning
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah.
I already know this
Yeah.
stuff.
It's like I was told to retake calculus,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I already
that was stupid.
and I failed an exam just because I used stuff that they said we weren't supposed to know yet.
Isn't that bullshit?
That's
And I looked at him. I looked at him. I was just like, "What?
yeah.
That
I
makes
wanted-
no
yeah.
sense."
My nephew asked me to help with his homework, and I wanted to help so bad, but they were using Common Core Math, and I had no fucking idea how to do it.
Common Core Math.
Common Core Math.
That's a thing.
Yeah, they're implementing a whole new math. Oh my God, this
what
isn't
the fuck's
new.
a Common Core Math?
Look it up. This isn't new. This is something
Common
they've implemented
Core
a couple
Math.
years ago.
what
That's
the
so stupid.
Yeah, like they're literally changing math. Like math is math. You can't fucking change
Yeah.
it.
You get a
No, they're
fucking
changing it,
number.
bud. They're fucking changing it.
Dude, I
So-
remember as a little kid, my brother
Yeah,
taught me how
Common
to.
Core Math. Common
to-
Core is
how to
meant to
do-
help children.
Here, I'll go
sorry.
this one.
Yeah.
No children left behind. Everyone has to fucking.
Yeah, so I mean, you can read into it a little bit further, but it's essentially changing how kids solve a problem. It's not necessarily changing math; it's just how they solve a problem, which is so asinine.
I can't stand that. It's like everyone has their own way to solve any
Yeah.
problem.
You ever
Yeah.
seen a fucking Chinese kid solve multiplication tables?
Yeah,
They do
I've
it
heard
their own way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's insane,
Yeah.
bro. They take like lines and they draw a fucking table
Yeah.
sideways and then they go the other way and then they
Yeah.
count the dots
Yeah.
of intersections and that's how they get their answer. Good, that's fucking work
That's
for
how
them.
you
They're
learn.
done.
Yeah,
Don't change it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I tried to help. I think it was my nephew Nathan with homework, and they were using this, and I was like, "Oh, like I can't help you. Like I don't know how to. If I do this, every single answer is going to be wrong per the work. You know, show the work.
Show the work part. Yeah.
Every answer is going to be wrong. I can't help you." And I felt I felt so defenseless.
Dude, that's the problem. It's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No.
What?
And that's just backwards to even try to. To me, it's like math has always been taught something somewhat logically. It's like
Math is math. I'm
Yeah.
just blown away that they're trying to
Yeah.
change
Well,
it.
and I mean, there's different ways to get to different situations. So why do you have to teach only one way? Like, there's so much ways to get a number,
Listen to
or
this.
so much ways to get a
popular
problem in
criticism
life.
of the Common Core standards is the way that students are asked to solve math problems nowadays. Simple equations now require multiple steps to solve equations that only took seconds.
Yeah.
See, that's just backwards.
It's just
That is
they're
fucking
literally
backwards.
they took the show your work, you know, that we used to have in high school on our math test.
Yeah.
They took the show your work and made that the answer,
I
the
hate
question.
that. See, like I did most of my math in my head, and I'm not being braggadocious.
I'm
about
one of
that at
those
all.
weird kids that go, okay, 7 plus 7 is 4. I have to add up what 7 plus 6 is. I'll go, what's 7 plus 7 is 14.
Yep.
6 is 1 less than 7, so it's 13.
Because
Done
everyone
deal.
has their own way to do
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. That's how I solve
It's like
math.
if
in my head.
I say if I'm adding large numbers, I never say if it's like 76 plus 42 plus 32. I'll always do 70 plus 40 plus 30
Yeah,
and,
and
then
then take
add the
the
rest.
rest.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone
Yeah.
has their own way
And
to
you
do
bet
it.
your ass if I see an 8 and a 2, I'm adding that shit together and making it a 10.
Yeah.
For fucking sure. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, dude, that's backwards.
Oh, it's terrible, man.
stupid,
But yeah,
man.
to get back on track, yeah, I was sitting down there and he was doing his homework and I was just like, holy fuck, like what is this? And then it got into a whole debacle of debate with all of my sister-in-laws.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we were just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my God, like this is insane. And then like even his mom was like, yeah, like I am a finance person at Crown in New Bremen.
What?
And I went to school for years and years and years, continually goes to school to get the next degree or the next, certificate or this or that. And she goes, I don't want to help him. Because this isn't math. This isn't
just
how we do
stupid.
math.
And
Yeah.
see that like that's what I hate about it mostly. Now it's not about the answer. It's about the road
The
to
work.
the answer.
Yeah.
And it's like that never what thing do you do in your life where it's like, oh well, the answer doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter how much money you made off the stock market.
Participation trophies, man.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
all fucking
Yeah.
rolls down.
Dude, and the whole No Child Left Behind, that
That's
changed
right. It's-
all
it did, yeah.
education.
That was
because
stupid.
I've always thought everyone's experience, there's a lot of kids that don't want to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to go to school, then don't. Then okay,
Yeah,
go for it. If you want to
June's
come
got-
back, you can come back.
Yeah, one of my teachers said it perfect. You have a nail. Some kids have a really small hammer and they just hit it and they have to hit it so many fucking times and it won't go in. And some kids have a giant fucking hammer, just
Sledgehammer and
one
just
fucking
boom.
slap and bam, it's in. Like, it just takes it. some people have it, some people fucking don't.
I was the first, and my wife is the second. My wife never had to try. She was the student that said, "Oh, I failed that test." Got it back. She was the highest score in the class. She was just one of those people. Me, I was like, I don't need to study for that. I just learned it 4 days ago and then get a C on it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care.
Well, that's the thing about it is I hate it how it's so much that's held to the standard, how well you do on a test.
Yeah.
Like if I actually wanted to be like get 100% on a test, I could just study my ass off and just like memorize. Memorization is key now too. That's the other problem is that people don't have actually true knowledge to solve problems. They just have memorized knowledge to do this certain task. And that's probably, I mean, it's highly debatable, but like I feel like innovation has kind of become stagnant.
Yeah.
Where you haven't seen, and I get it how we've become so technologically advanced, it's probably very difficult.
People aren't seeing the advances we make because they're not as drastic as they were when we were sending people to the moon and shit like that.
And I think half the problem is that we are now taught to think inside the box. Don't think outside the box. If you can't do
From
it
the
this way-
get-go, from elementary school.
Yeah, it shows that the government just wants people to go straight and not go outside
Well,
the
that's
box.
the whole.
Because then
Henry Ford designed the school system because it was
for factory.
Yeah, exactly. It was to make factory workers.
So you ever seen like old timey movies? I think the one I'm thinking of now is Hidden Figures. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I love that.
I've heard
with
that.
the African American women that sent people into orbit. I think John Glenn. But anyways, in that movie, they show little tidbits of the one. I can't remember her name in the movie. Well, in life really, because it's based on a life story. But in that movie, they show her as a child and teachers bringing in her parents, and saying, like, your kid is gifted.
Yeah.
Don't send her here. She's not going to excel. She's going to top out. Like, take her somewhere else.
My uncle had the same thing done to him. He tested in the 99th percentile of the national honor, whatever national test and whatever.
And what
his
the fuck
teachers
good is
brought
that
him, and it's like the teachers brought my grandparents in and were like, "Listen, you need to push him.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything here for him.
We're not helping him." Yeah, exactly. And now it's just like they don't care because
it does matter because they're bringing up the state average.
Yeah, exactly.
Between all the kids that don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Very
100%.
true.
And
it's become a political game. It's become
dude. That's what I'm fearful when all the old teachers are gone.
I'm scared shitless on where the fuck I'm going to send my kid for school.
I've thought about when
I'm scared.
I've thought about having homeschooled. My cousin was homeschooled.
Yeah.
And he graduated high school at 16. And he graduated college at 20.
Yeah.
And he works in Cincinnati now.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm like, it sucks because you don't get the social aspect of life.
Yeah.
But my God, I almost would rather not have the social aspect.
You learn the shit you need to learn.
Exactly.
And how you need to learn it.
Yeah.
Because I teach my kid normal fucking math.
I used to be completely
bullshit.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I used to be completely against homeschool. Now I'm thinking like, man.
Well, that's why so many charter
That's the way
schools
to
are
go.
popping up. Charter schools are becoming huge. It's because they're actually, like a lot of the charter schools are made to figure out what your kid's good at, and then push them in that direction.
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, you remember when they had Gifted? They still have Gifted?
I remember
I was
Gifted.
in stupid English, and I don't think that's bad to say.
No.
There was gifted people in
That's the
English
thing.
and
Like-
in science and in math.
That's the problem with the participation trophies because it makes everyone think that they're on an equal playing field. And it's like, no,
you're not.
Some people are better at other shit, and they should be. Some people can do rocket science a lot better than somebody else can. Go for it. 'Cause
Some people can make a potato clock, and that's all they can fucking do. That's it.
exactly.
That's their limit.
Yeah. And it's like people don't get that.
Yeah.
Where it's, and the other thing I think about is, I want those people to be doing that stuff. I want someone that's actually really good at that to be designing airplanes or whatever. But now it's just like everyone's on an equal playing field. Everyone's
You
the
can
same.
do you can do whatever you want. No.
And now you're just kind of making. Well, it's kind of making like the people that would excel in certain subjects feel bad because they
Absolutely.
they feel like, oh well, like I'm not
what the fuck am I working so hard for if
Yeah.
I'm just bringing up the average from the kid who doesn't try at
Exactly.
all?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Dude.
I couldn't agree more. And I know my wife would agree because she's the only reason I graduated with a 3.5 GPA in high school.
Yeah.
She did my fucking homework.
Yeah, I mean, and see, dude, that's another problem is that high school is not. It's not what it
Dude,
used to be.
I cheated my way through fucking high school.
My dad
so
always
damn
said, I
much.
know I've talked so much praise to my dad, and I'm probably going to have him
Dude.
listen to this, but I'll end it with, my dad said, if you ain't fucking cheating, you ain't trying.
Oh,
And that's because I'd come home and he'd get a letter in the mail or a phone call that said I got a 0 on my homework. He goes, it's fucking homework.
Yeah.
It's fucking, grab a piece of paper, grab your buddy, write the same shit down, turn it in.
Yeah.
You're done. So he goes,
Dude,
you ain't
and
cheating, you ain't trying.
that's the other problem is that school should just be school. They're probably putting way too much stress on kids, saying
When I
like,
see a high school kid stressed out like a
That should
30-year-old,
not happen.
Shut the fuck up. Not
Ridiculous.
happening at all.
it should not
Oh,
happen.
fucking wait, Audrey, your fucking life's gonna change.
Well, the other thing about it is it's just like if a kid has to spend hours doing homework, you're not teaching him well then.
Nope.
You're not teaching him how to
Yeah.
do it then. If he has to spend hours and hours and hours to how to figure out how to do something on his own pretty much,
Yeah.
you're not teaching him right. And I get that's it's a controversial thing.
And don't get me wrong, there is younger teachers that
That are
want
good.
to implement
Yes.
the old style, and
Yes.
I love that.
There
I love
there
it.
are definitely
Like Tyler
winning-
Davis he's a phys ed
Yeah.
teacher, but he implements the old school shit.
And that's an impact.
He said that's how this shit should go. I see
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
He calls. I don't know if he calls them this deliberately, but the way he described it was fucking liberal teachers.
Yep.
The everyone succeeds, everyone gets a gold star. No. If fucking Karen got 100% on her test, I expect her to get a gold score. And Jimmy, who got a 64 because he didn't do shit, got a 64. That's all he fucking gets.
You probably remember back in like elementary school where like the teacher would say, "Oh, so and so got the highest score on the test."
Fuck yeah, I
And it's
do.
like,
Oh, yeah.
good. It's like as a kid, you were
Everyone just slow claps.
and it's like the people that didn't like that they were saying they strived farther. They
Yeah.
strived harder to actually.
yeah.
Because
I
they're
know.
like, I'm
It's
not going to be on top.
competition. They're
Competition
competitive. Like,
drives the world.
fuck, I wanna get
Competition.
this.
I know
drives
damn
the world.
well.
Failure and competition.
Yeah,
And that-
when I got a fucking test handed to me upside down, I was fucked. I was fucked up. I was like,
yeah.
dude, I gotta do better at this. Like, this is messed up.
And
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
and that's competition is core in everyone.
Mm.
Everyone needs to compete. Competing is what drives us. I think so.
It drives our society. It
Yeah.
drives our economy. It drives.
You got to make the better product to make the more money. You got to
Yeah.
make the better service to help more people or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, it's times are changing, and I feel old. I feel weird saying that just because we're in our early 20s, and like
I am an old soul trapped in a 24-year-old's body. I've said it when I was 18. I'll say it now.
Yeah.
I think that's a byproduct of how we grew up because
Yeah.
we were
Oh, yeah.
the people our age and above were the few generations left that
I don't
grew
want
up-
to pull the card when I talk about this, but it's like I've seen some shit that kids my age have not seen,
100%.
dealt with, or even had the conversation of. I'm not saying I'm more mature than them. I know I'm still immature as a 24-year-old, but I think I know a good depiction of what the fuck is right and wrong.
Yeah,
And for you not to know what the fuck is right and wrong is asinine to me.
Yep.
I
Oh,
look
100%.
at you and I'm like, you're
completely.
dumb.
Yeah,
You're dumb.
I know exactly.
Grow up.
I know,
Life is-
I know
life
exactly
is-
people
life
who
is-
are like that.
your wisdom is built on experiences. The wise sages are all the ones that have experienced the most life. The ones that are the oldest, the elders, are always the ones that are the wisest. Even though some of them cannot be, but they have at least experienced so much life where they know at least what's supposed to be done.
God damn
Like
it. I
it-
think we should end on that right there. That
I
is
think so,
the
too.
perfect note.
That was perfect.
Generations have changed. I think our younger generation needs to strive to be like our parents.
Exactly.
I think we're missing. I think we still need to have our own individuality about who we are as a person. But man, look at your parents. If you can look at your parents and say, I want to be like them, then the fuck are you doing wrong with your life to not be like them?
I always think to myself, it's like I want to show my dad up. I want to be better than him.
Oh, 100%.
I want to be able to support him.
Individual,
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
individual. Like, I want to do this.
I want my dad to look at me once and just go, man, I wish I did that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Boom.
All right.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on here. This has been an absolute
It's always
blast.
enjoyable.
I told Jacob, I said, I do want to come back on. I hope it's like a reunion
yeah.
podcast.
You definitely will.
Dude, we're gonna be we're at 00003. We gotta fill up all those zeros. So
Oh yeah, well, I appreciate it, brothers.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out.
That's it.